Welcome. It's so nice to have such a full room tonight. Oh, sorry, Jenny. Oh, it was 7 o'clock. It's 7. Okay. So, welcome everyone. We are, it is February the 25th. We've just returned from executive session where no action was taken. All board members are present with the exception of President Cindy Kelly, who is at a seminar for Native American education. So you're stuck with me tonight. So we are going to start with the flag salute. This gentleman right here. Yes? Lead us in the flag salute. No. You can just say it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Okay, so I am going to start with just some housekeeping so you understand what's happening. We are, as you can tell, a paperless system, which means all of our work is on our laptops or our iPads in front of us. So when we're here, this is what we're doing. We're looking at the agenda. We will see on here the identical thing that you will see up there. So I guess we're going to start with agenda. Anybody have any issues with the agenda? Good. Okay, so that takes us down to the consent agenda. The purpose of the consent agenda is to recognize routine matters, so we don't go through them one at a time. At any moment, a board member may remove something from the consent agenda and move it into the regular agenda. How say the board?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussions? All in favor? All right, great. Opposed? Unanimous. Okay, so we are going to go into awards and recognitions. We are almost. Okay, so 6.01 is going to be National School Counselors Week. Dr. Jackson?
Yes, we have some counselors that we would like to recognize for their fantastic work in our district.
All right.
Before President. President.
Yes, I'm Vice President.
You know, this group, these fantastic counselors are, they do so much for our youngsters and for our staff. And we are so fortunate to have such a fantastic group of people here. So words, I think, will not justify just the commitment that you give to our community and to our schools. So personally, on behalf of the board, I just want to thank you for the wonderful work that you continue to do. You're just so wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay. So, we're handing you a certificate. I know you never get these. It's in recognition of School Counseling Appreciation Week. The Port Angel School District and our Board of Directors, thank you for the tremendous impact school counselors have in helping students achieve school success and plan for a career. I know here first is Mr. Nolan. I know he's helped my children tremendously plan for their career. Okay, and now Sandy's not here. Dana, you are here. Cecilia's not here. Jason's not here. Megan's not here. Nancy, you're here. I thought so. And then high heels. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Let's see. Adam, you're here. Congratulations. Thank you. No, really, thank you. We're almost there. Dana, I know you're here. Thank you. And Amberlyn, oh, way up there. I had you way down here. There's Amberlyn. Thank you. Okay. And, oh, we still have Victoria? Are you impressed? Yeah, I got it ready for you. Yes. Thank you very much. All right.
We can move around the block.
is going to be 6.02, Jefferson Elementary Report, or Jefferson Student of the Month, excuse me.
George?
Here I am. This is really what you do just to get a crowd to listen to CSIPs. Yeah. I drove. What happened? We are starting. Welcome to Jefferson Elementary. Thank you all for being here. Those of you who aren't part of Jefferson and are affiliated with the school district, you'll see in a minute, I think, how and why we have so many people here. We have a number of students that are going to share in our presentation. So I'm thrilled that they're here. I'm thrilled that you are here to support them. But the first thing is, last year when Dr. Jackson came, we started honoring 2 students when you host the board meeting, you honor 2 students. So at Jefferson, we chose to do 6th grade students that have been at Jefferson from kindergarten through 6th grade. So we give all staff a ballot that has all of those kiddos, and they look at who has just really been exemplar in their academics and their overall character for the 7 years that they've been here. We select a boy and a girl. And so that's what we have today. And so look, I'm all shaky, guys. The crowd. Adults make me nervous, apparently. So we are going to start, I think, yes, we've got it up there. So Caleb McClarty, come on up first, and then we'll do Emmy Hallberg. So you get to stand here front and center, Caleb. And so the way I do it, and I think some of the other principals have started this too, we just go back through the report cards and we take little excerpts from every grade so that we can get a glimpse of what Caleb and Emmy have been like since kindergarten. Worth noting, because I thought of this when Michael did this at Dry Creek a couple months ago when they were district employees. In this case, both of these students have at least one parent that is associated with our school district, which I think speaks volumes to the teachers in our district as well as to the students that they produce. So we didn't slate it that way on purpose. Caleb, in kindergarten. Caleb is a very hard worker. He knows most of his letters. Congratulations. And is starting to blend sounds. You've come a long way, Caleb. In 1st grade, Caleb comes to school happy, ready to learn, and is a wonderful friend to others. In 2nd grade, Caleb is polite, well-liked, and a delight to have in class. 3rd grade, thank you for being so conscientious and caring in your studies and in your personal relationships. 4th grade, Caleb was a wonderful addition to the classroom. He was respectful to others, an excellent listener, and a leader in his effort to produce quality work. And 5th grade, Caleb is very serious and disciplined in his academics. Excellent job, Caleb. Thank you so much for all of your hard work. Right here while Emmy comes up. Come on up, Emmy Hallberg. We'll do the certificates after. Okay. Emmy Hallberg also has been here since kindergarten. She's our female school board student of the month in kindergarten. Emmy's good behavior serves as a role model for others. Excellent job. Emmy is a kind, 1st grade, Emmy is a kind, caring, and respectful child with a great sense of humor. 2nd grade, Emmy enjoys school, is well-liked, and participates in all activities with a smile. 3rd grade, which I think, 3rd grade is when I got here with you guys, right? You have Miss Olson until 3rd? Yeah. What a bright girl who has patience and understanding for others. 4th grade, Emmy continues to be an exceptional student and a remarkable young lady who always strives to do her best. And in 5th grade, Emmy's consistent effort and graciousness are rare in a grade school student. Excellent job.
So the certificate, the Portland School District is honored to acknowledge your positive contributions in and out of the classroom at Jefferson Elementary. Congratulations on being the Portland School District Student of the Month. So Caleb, this one's for you. Thank you. And you, Miss Emmy. I heard you sing. You sing beautiful. Do all the volume. There you go. No, congratulations, you guys are really good.
So parents and grandparents.
So
Let's come on, you're in the screen, and so you're going on a spotlight. So students, there we go.
Do you want to sing? You sing.
thank you. Congratulations, families. That is quite an effort to get kids that are that phenomenal, so thank you. All right, now, hold on, let me get my things in organized here. I did that. So now, families that are here, this is when we do our Jefferson report. We also have all the other principals here today doing their school reports for what we call continuous school improvement plan. So they get 3 minutes and I get a lot, so just sit back and enjoy yourselves, because when you're the host, you get a little bit more time. But I am going to do just a quick overview of our CSIP, since it is our CSIP reporting time, and then we'll move on to our focus of our presentation. So just real quickly, and this, the board and the faculty will understand these things, the others of you, you'll learn a few things. Our first goal this year was around organizational culture. Those are the things we do within the building. For staff development, we did set up peer observations for the week of Veterans Day, that November week. And I'd say we had enough for every staff to do one. Specialists, it gets really tricky, but well over half of our classroom teachers did, and they loved it. They loved the opportunity to go visit other classrooms, both within the building and with others. We had a number of teachers visit the Ridge, which they hadn't had an opportunity to do before, and we just have some great teachers who can take anything and make it into professional development, so they can figure out exactly something to change in their classroom the next day to do things better for students. So that was huge. We are in our second year of our PBIS implementation, and Vicki Rockhold, who you just saw, came in. She joined us beginning of October, and she took the reins and has done a great job. We had established our school-wide expectations, so you see on the posters all over the be respectful, be responsible, be safe. Those were things we did really well last year. Our areas this year that the staff said in the staff survey in August were the highest priorities were clearly defining our problem behaviors and then what we're going to do about those problem behaviors. So we've kind of looked at how to honor all the things kids are doing right, but what do we need to do when kids continue to make the wrong choices? And how do we collect data so we can best help them? So that's what we're really focusing on now. March 11th, our Lit Day, will have a fair amount on that as well. Math was our second one. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, particularly the data portion, because when I get to the later part of the presentation, I'll explain some of that, because a lot of that is math data. But our teachers continue to adjust the curriculum calendars to meet the needs of, our new state assessments, our new standards, and the curriculum that we have. Our biggest problem continues to be staffing for math RTI, as you hear over and over, and you will continue to hear over and over in the CSIP reports tonight. We run 42 reading RTI groups every day, 42 groups. That consumes all of our paraeducator support. So how we can get the staffing and the support we need into math groups is a constant conundrum. We love IXL. Parents, how many of you know your kids' IXL accounts? Oh, well, please raise your hands. Okay, thank you, some of you. That might have been a really bad example on the spot. MobiMax is not used as much as IXL in our building. I think we're the only building that maintained a subscription to IXL this year. We through Title 19 and PTO funds. We will be focusing on math with sharing presenters with Roosevelt on March 11th, and then again, that math remediation piece. We're really, our most intensive math students, students who qualify for specially designed instruction in math, there's always that battle between getting them their core concepts, but exposure to the general ed curriculum and how we balance that piece. Community, our last goal, you'll notice I skipped one in there because it's literacy. So goal 4, community, that's kind of how apparently we did something here tonight, but that's this. Check. I'm kidding. Okay. But that's how we get families involved in what we do here. So we have this very small number of PTO officers who run every event we have. They work, they coordinate all their kids' outside activities and do things here as well. So how can we best tap into all of our families? Yet with that said, our CE data was great. 100% of our staff feel that Jefferson encourages parent involvement, and 98% of parents, and then there was a 2% missing, so essentially 100%. feel that when concerns are shared with your child's teacher, those concerns are heard. Oh, that is a bad mistake. Students don't follow my example. We have another family breakfast coming up, and over 200 family members were there. The rest are just different field trips and activities that we have, but I'm going to go ahead and bypass those because I want to get to the other portion of it. So we're going to look at literacy. Last month at Roosevelt, the board got a really good glimpse of math from Michelle Olson and some of the things that they're doing at Roosevelt. And so I thought today would be a great example to look at literacy. And the reason I thought that was because the kids, as I was kind of coming up with what are we going to do for the board presentation, the kids were all busy finishing their Martin Luther King Jr. essays. So as you saw at the last board meeting, that's what's displayed in the boardroom this month. And so we tried to, select a variety of kids to go on that bulletin board, and then we chose a couple from each grade to read today. And the reason I wanted to do this is because we have such a huge focus on writing every year, and yet never can you see, we know in math, reading, and writing, right? We know the benchmarks, we know the kids make growth. In writing, we never see a continuum from kindergarten to 6th grade of how it progresses with a similar theme. And the MLK essays are the one time a year where they write to different prompts, but a similar theme. So I'm gonna have those students, Ms. Roxanne's gonna bring them all in, and they're just going to read little excerpts. The kindergartners will read more, but they're going to read little excerpts so you can see a glimpse of our writing. As we go right up this way, Jersey. Come right through here, guys. Hey, go sweetheart. I mean. They've been practicing all week with Mrs. Anderson and Mrs. Bear. But we haven't practiced with our technology. Okay. So I'm going to start us off with jerseys. Are you ready? I will make the rules the same for everyone.
It is important to treat other people fairly because we want other people to treat us. Martin Luther King wanted everyone to be treated fairly. We should be responsible and respectful to all things we say. We can stand for our rights and be smart. I think I can help to make myself useful to help others, say sorry, say you are kind, check on others, invite others to play, and want people to follow the school rules. Martin Luther King Jr. was also very brave. He removed so many unfair laws peacefully and did not use his fists. Being peaceful means you don't get mad. You have love and compassion for others. That is how Martin Luther King Jr. was, which made him a peaceful man.
Martin was shot and killed by a white man. He thought he didn't want peace. From that day on, we will remember Martin Luther King Jr. and remember what he did to change the United States.
Martin Luther King Jr. did many great things to make our world a better place. For instance, one magical example is that he was brave and nice. Another trait is that Martin was respectful.
Martin Luther King Jr. and my mom share some important traits. They are both important traits for a hero. Martin Luther King Jr. gave of himself even when threatened and tired. Just like my mom gives of herself to me even when it is hard and she is tired. My mom might not be a hero to others, but she is to me. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is one of the most important people in American history. He created a civil rights movement for the people of all races to be treated equally. Although he was assassinated, we still remember him the day that is dedicated to ML, as he was called by friends and family. ML changed all of our lives, even almost 50 years since he died. When I think of MLK, I think of my mom. I think of my mom when I think of MLK because she is willing to protect me and my brother for whatever happens. My mom is also peaceful because she never tries to be mean or harmful.
If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. I think this quote is important to me because if I stop time, I will stop moving forward.
I'll wrap up in 5 to 10 minutes and then you're all free to go. But right now, I have you as my captive audience. Is this on? Can you hear me? So those were our student writers, and I hope from it you got a glimpse of where they go from kindergarten to 6th grade. We know that they're not all like Caleb learning their blends and their sounds from kindergarten. We hope that they make progress, and clearly they do. So we're going to look at some of the pieces that go hand in hand with writing as we look at literacy. Thanks, guys. So we're going to go to our next one. This, again, because this fell, I seem to have ended fall board meetings in the past. So this time, we're just doing this whole data analysis, so I thought that I would throw a little bit in here. I'm going to admit, school board, I know very little about map testing, so if you ask me questions at the end about what I'm about to tell you, I might defer to some others, Michelle, Michael. But we were really debating, those of us that are piloting measurement of academic progress in grades 3 through 6 this year, we were debating how we were going to report that in our CSIPs this year. And so what we chose to do, and this is really important to watch, is this median is the 50th percentile, and this is where they're saying kids in the 50th percentile would be in the fall of this grade level, okay? Based on 1 year of data, 1 year of looking at SBA data with math data, they're saying that level 3 would be in the 61 to 60 percentile. Right? We don't have a huge pool. So, all that to say, as Michelle said to me a couple weeks ago, if this actually calibrates and our kids that land at level 3 on the SBA fall in the 61st to 68th percentile on math, it might be worth it. Right? That might be really useful data. We have no idea if that's what it's going to look like yet or not. So, we'll be curious to see it. So what we did, and I don't know if others chose to do this or not, but the way I reported it is I used this median score in the fall. They don't give us a winter, so I used it again. So 52% of 3rd graders were at that 50th percentile, so that's great in the fall. That's fantastic. 88% of them are there now, but they're not here, right? They're at that 50th percentile. So we begin to use this data because we see a huge growth here, fantastic. We don't see a ton here. We see a good one here. We see a cohort that started pretty low and is making growth, but already started pretty low. So that's what we begin to analyze. So that's just to give you a piece on that. Go to the next one. Oh, you can't really see it. The itty bitty dots, there's no names obviously on any of these, but these little bitty dots are the students speckled. This is another graph that spits out for us. So here's kids that might need high levels of intervention. Here's kids that are really far advanced, and everybody in between. This is what we use for how we do RTI groupings. We really liked this particular graph. So those are both math graphs. For families, that's grades 3 through 6. That's a new online test. I'm sure you heard your kids talk about it about 2 weeks ago. We did it. Here's STAR. This is another one we use. Again, really hard to see. This was all 3rd grade. Our 3rd grade teachers combined. And we look at them and how we break up our students for RTI groupings. So those are just the 3 pieces. Oh no, sorry, that was just 2. Dibbles is our 3rd. Well, I don't know what that is. And then what was our next one? Oh, that was just a blow up. Here's Dibbles. So you can't see it, but I used kindergarten because you can see this tremendous growth. In kindergarten, all kids grow a whole lot in their reading ability in kindergarten. That's this graph. This is a class graph. So just so that the board is aware, particularly for some of you that are new to us, and parents, this is what we use, and we sit down every 4 to 6 weeks and analyze all this data and make sure that we are best serving the kids, particularly in the area of reading. So we've got our writing continuum, we have our reading. One of the huge things that was that changed with the implementation of the Common Core state standards was the need for nonfiction texts in what we study. So I'm going to have Koya Erickson come up. Have I lost her in the mix?
I'm here.
Koya's going to tell you about a great grant that we just got that gave us a ton of books. It's a STEM grant for nonfiction resources in our library.
Sorry, I just had to bring some of them. So, those of you that may not know, STEM stands for science. So we got 50 books. They're beautiful books. They were pretty much processed. I just had to add our label. This is an example of a science one. I've used it with a couple students. I let them know that it's kind of nice. It's a good one that they could read to kindergarten, first grade, second grade, or they might just read it to themselves the first time through. Then, the second time through, because they're older students, a little more knowledgeable, then they can go back and get a little more information on it. So this is a nice example of one of the STEM books that's kind of multi-purpose. Now, the T is technology, and I have to think of nonfiction as being our numbers, and I teach the kids that. This one, though, I was kind of surprised is a fiction book. But then I looked at it, and it's called My Explosive Diary. And I know you can't really see the picture, but it's a robot down here. It's got a lot of different fonts in it, a lot of graphics. It was very interesting. I had one of my third graders read it. Wasn't too sure if he wanted to read it or not. Asked him, what's it about? He said, oh, somebody keeps trying to make something and it blows up. I said, well, what else? Well, they tried it again. And then they tried it again, and they tried it again. I said, oh, that's kind of what a scientist does. A scientist has to try things over and over again. So I was a little surprised that it was a fiction book. I was expecting mainly all nonfiction, but at the same time, it does meet that technology. Then, and T is for technology, if you didn't pick up on that or I didn't say it. The E in STEM is engineering. And I had another third grader check this one out, happened to return it today, so I was very fortunate that they did. And I asked him, so what is this book about? Oh, well, they're inventing things. Oh, okay. But it doesn't always work the first time. They have to keep trying again and trying again and trying again. And I said, oh, okay, inventing. I said, so what do you think engineering is? They go, I think it's inventing things and trying them. And so I had to kind of point out a little bit that build was in here a few times, and that's part of what an engineer does, is actually build things. So we don't have a lot of books on engineering, but this was a very nice one. The last one has probably been the favorite book for my fourth grade group, M for Math. That's a possibility. They love this book. So we were talking about, I asked, what's the difference between possibility and probability? Boy, that was a toughie. Well, I said, if you turn the gumball machine, what are you going to get? Yellow or blue? Well, yellow. You know, and how many would it take? Well, then we started looking at, and they love the visual, one of them loved the dice. Okay? Everybody got that there were 2 dice, that there were all these combinations, but then it was, well, what are you likely to get? Are you, oh, you'll get a 3. Somebody said 2. Somebody said 7. Somebody said 5. I said, okay, well, let's look at it. Yes, you could get any of these on a dice, but look, all the possibilities. Which one are you most likely to get? That's what probability is. So they got that hands down. The visuals were wonderful. So anyway, I just want to thank you for letting me showcase these. They are also in our display case, and I'm enjoying using them with the students, having them check them out, and the STEM materials really are wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you. You can switch to the next one. And then the last thing worth noting as we look at literacy these days, and we can't ignore it, is the technology component. So this is a picture of one of our 5th grade classrooms, and this is the wall of standards. So that's just the reading, writing, and math standards. So those are the I can statements for what kids will learn by the end of the year in 3 subject areas. All of them that are assessed on the computer, and these 3 standards actually have to do with the computer. Of all those, 3 of them have to do with the computer, yet they're all assessed through the computer. So we have the Type to Learn for, thank you, Jared. District subscriptions, we have kids out there all the time. We saw some of our 1st grade essays were already typed, they're out there plugging. And then in 2nd grade, we start the Type to Learn. By 4th and 5th grade, they are on computers 15 minutes every single day doing type to learn. And the difference between their beginning of the year essays and their MLK essays are night and day, just from that proficiency in typing. So it's now a whole nother subject that has to be incorporated into the day, and that's something we continue to look at in terms of how we, that progression of what should be done at each grade level. I think, the next one, these are pictures of first graders typing some MLK essays from Miss James' room. There they are with their rough drafts as they pluck along. So that was our last piece of literacy as we look at their writing, at their reading data that we analyze, some nonfiction text we recently got, and then how we use technology. So, are there any questions from the board before we release all these families?
I just have, not very quickly, but I know math rolled out last year sort of as a choice issue, and I recall Jefferson not.
This year, math?
Yeah.
We did it.
But the year before that, hadn't some schools done some math testing? It was more voluntary? No?
Yes, the Ridge did math. The Ridge did math, and students in each individual school that had qualified in one area or the other.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, am I correct in that, Michelle? So then this year, I think 3 of the elementaries piloted it by teacher choice, and then the other 2 have some teachers involved in it. Stevens is doing it, Lincoln.
Now, 100% of your teachers doing it?
3rd through 6th. And we really don't know. We really like that one graph that was really hard to see, where it puts it reading and math on the same page, and that you can just see in a blink of an eye. But then you take the Dibbles data, and you take the STAR data, and you analyze it all, plus how they're doing in class. But it tends to be, we found that it's pretty accurate. We've liked a little bit of the mid-year data that we've gotten, but again, there isn't time to sit and analyze what to do instructionally with all that data. We just don't have a ton of that time with our 30-minute releases. Any other questions? Families, thank you so much for coming. You do not need to stay through everybody, so you are more than welcome to. Students, thank you so much for sharing with us. That was fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think it's very nice to show me up.
Hey, kiddo.
Well, when I was rehearsing it, I anyway, Caleb and
I'm so glad already. There you go. My basketball.
Hi, sweetie. Such a good
We'll wait till the noise level.
proud of you.
Okay, well, I think now we can move on. We're going to go down to 6.04. Yes. Recognition of Nancy Bowman. Chuck Lisk is going to do the presentation.
Good evening, board. You might remember it was about a month or 2 ago this nice little trophy went zooming by in a very busy board meeting like it was before. And I go, I recognize that. We've got this brand new school district. It really belongs to Stevens Middle School. And so to do it upright, I want to remind people that this is about college-bound scholarship. And so many kids at middle school level think right away, I don't have a chance to go to college. There's no way we can afford it with our economics and our family, so they get kind of a defeatist attitude. Well, the state has a thing called College Bound. You have to do it in 7th and 8th grade by June 30th. It's too late. You can't sign up for it anymore. And so it's been a passion of mine and the counselors at Stevens to get every single kid who qualifies signed up. If you get over 96%, the state gives you congratulations. I think last year there was 3 kids that we didn't find. and the year before there was 4. So what a way to end their 8th grade year. Set them up for Port Angeles High School, the sky's the limit. There's no excuses for not being able to go to college, go to vocational school, go to a 2-year school, and I can't take the credit for that. We're up there. We've really Nancy Bowman, who worked her tail off with making sure we got it out in the fall. We did parent-teacher conferences, she did follow-up phone calls, hounded them to get that 96. The goal is always 100%. But when you can send up 96% of your 8th graders who have college taken care of, if they can't get it any other way, so the sky's the limit again for being able success. What a way to open up a career for the high school level. So it's one of the transition things we do. And so I just want to recognize Nancy for her hard work. Appreciation for that. Congratulations. And take back up to where it rightfully belongs, to Stevens. And we give her a round of applause.
Okay, so it takes us to 6.05, food service recognition. Dr. Jackson. Oh, no.
There's a resolution.
It's a resolution.
United Way.
No, we are on food service recognition. Right here. You're right over here.
Kathy.
You're on, Kathy.
So every district that I have worked in, and there's been many, so you know I can't hold a job, and I think there's like 10 of them, every cafeteria program has ended up in the red, except come here, they are in the black. And much of that is due to Kathy, who runs a fantastic program. We've had a 30-year commitment with Sodexo, and she somehow miraculously continues to bring nutritionally valued meals to our youngsters all through our entire school system. So I want to first of all credit you, and then of course you really can't do anything without workforce. So we're going to read off a list of names of people who deserve their credit for the work that they do in the cafeteria program. So Kathy, take it away.
Okay.
Would you come over here and read these names, and we'll have the board president pass them out for the people that we know. Okay.
So we have Suzanne McGinnity from Dry Creek Elementary. She's our lead there. Now the rest of her team would be Stacy Gregson and Brenda Kitchen. And then we have from Stevens Middle School, Jennifer Petty. And from Roosevelt, we have Jessica Maskey tonight. The rest of our staff are at home getting ready to come in bright and early tomorrow morning. So thank you for these 5 showing up.
And we have a certificate. Port Angeles School District and its Board of Directors appreciate your dedication to serving our students with a smile and ensuring they have nutritious meals during their school day. Thank you for all you do.
Let's give them a round of applause.
Yes. Where's Brenda? Where's Brenda? Brenda's right there. I'm sorry. Okay, yep. Yay! Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, sure.
Thank you very much.
Kathy? Or do you want to take a picture? All right. I'm back. Okay, so now we have recognition from United Way. A resolution that they passed thanking the school district. At least 2 of us have been on the United Way board, and I understand another one is soon to be. So you want me to read this?
Please.
Okay. So this is from the United Way board. Whereas the Port Angeles School District has for approximately a decade generously cooperated with and supported the United Way of Clallam County by allowing use of its conference and meeting rooms for use by the UWCC board and committee at no charge. Whereas this generous support of United Way of Clallam County has enabled its officers and staff to efficiently conduct business in serving Clallam County through fundraising programs and other efforts in its mission to strengthen our community by helping people to live safe, healthy, and productive lives. Whereas United Way of Clallam County will relocate its offices to 1601 East Front Street, Building 2, Suite AB in January. Whereas the new location will allow UWCC to hold its board and committee meetings in its own premises. Therefore, be it resolved that the United Way of Clallam County Board of Directors, on behalf of the Clallam County residents it serves, extends its grateful appreciation to the Port Angeles School District officials and employees, and further be it resolved that Port Angeles School Board be furnished a copy of this resolution, which is spread upon the minutes of the January 12, 16 UWCC Board of Directors meeting. So that was very nice of them. Me. Okay. So, I don't have to remember that. 7.01 then is board correspondence.
So that's no invitation to judge the future steps, and Wasco pamphlets, district administration magazine, and Kindle and newsletters.
So now I need community comments on non-agenda items. Okay. So, just to let people know about non-agenda, this is agenda topics, it says. Oh, it was signed on agenda, but it's not agenda. Is that what you're saying? This is for specific agenda items.
Do you want to speak to an agenda item, or are you gentlemen going to speak to, would you like now in the community section?
Either. Whatever's convenient for you.
It's up to you if you want to do it right now.
We can do that.
That way you don't have to wait till we're...
Fine.
Okay.
Okay, so the protocol here is you each have, I'm going to ask Dr. Jones to keep track. You have 3 minutes to speak to what you wish to speak to. The board does not interact with speakers. We don't answer questions, but if you do have a specific question, if you can leave that with Jenny here, she will get that out to the appropriate people. So with that, when you come up, I'd ask for your name and your residence. Those are for legal purposes, I guess. So let's start with Terry Trudell.
Thank you. I don't think I can get all this in 3 minutes.
Can I get your name and
I'm sorry.
address? I'm sorry.
Terry Trudell, 1994 South Bagley Creek, Port Angeles,
Perfect. Thank you.
9362. I don't think I can get all this in 3 minutes, but I'll start by reminding the board that in June of 2014, there was a meeting to discuss the transgender policy for the school district. And at that meeting, there was a strong public sentiment expressed that was opposed to having biological adolescent boys in the girls' locker room and vice versa. Since that time, there's been no change in public sentiment, I believe, and no committee has been formed to study this issue, as was promised at that meeting. Parents, since that time, have not had an opportunity to provide input, and students have not had an opportunity to provide input. Instead, the school district is following the guidelines from OSPI. For transgender students using bathrooms, the policy is that they are allowed to use the facility of the sex that they consistently identify with. For locker rooms, they are allowed to use the locker room on a case-by-case basis. In both cases, students who are uncomfortable having a transgender student in a restroom or locker room are asked to leave and go to another area to ensure their privacy and safety. According to the state of Washington, transgender students are a protected class. According to the state of Washington, sex is also a protected class, meaning that adolescent girls who identify their gender expression to be the same as their birth sex, they also are protected. Both classes are protected. The current guidelines ignore two realities that are foundational to having policy and procedures that protect both classes. Studies show that 20 to 25% of adolescent girls between the age of 14 and 17 have been sexually assaulted. Significant numbers from this group will experience anxiety and even a variety of symptoms associated with their prior sexual assault when they find a boy in the girls' locker room. The second reality is that these existing guidelines assume that survivors of sexual abuse are able to establish a healthy boundary by expressing their need to have privacy. In reality, many survivors of sexual abuse suffer from what is known as learned helplessness. Could I have 15 seconds to finish? Learned helplessness. They are prone to repeated episodes of abuse, secondary to poor boundaries. Tonight, I want to ask the school board to complete what they agreed to do in June of 2014. And I will quote you, Sarah. You said that the board would create a procedure on how to implement the state's requirement for transgender policy in a way that satisfies all parties' needs for privacy and safety. That's what I would like to ask the school board to do this evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Okay, so this takes us to Richard Colson? Colson, okay.
Hello, I am Richard Colson, nearly lifetime member of this community. I live at 52 North Jensen Road, which is up on Monroe. I'm going to speak to you only from my heart as a concerned grandpa. And when I say concerned, I have 34 of those little fellows, boys and girls. And first of all, I want to say that I don't envy the school board or the community in what has come down to the legislative process to say that if you have a feeling this way or that, that's to be honored by everybody. It's just, there's no standard to establish. And it's crazy thinking that, just imagine, I tell you, I'm a 747 pilot, and this is the plane we're in. I have no experience, but I think I'm a pilot. Any of this stuff, when you talk about feelings, and there's no definition of boundaries, it's bizarre. And our legislators couldn't even get that across themselves. And it's sad, and I don't envy the school board, but I tell you what, the safety of each one of those children coming up through this thing has got to be the first consideration. Now there's guys like me that fought the wars, and we'll fight this. And it's sad that it has to come to that, that common sense does not prevail. I mean, you have a deal in your thing that says legal identity. And I think that should suffice. Thank you.
And now we, excuse me, have Bill Yucca?
You got it.
I apologize. Yeah.
That's all right. I'm Bill Yucca. I live at 1020 West 12th, Los Angeles. I want to start by reminding you why we have boys' bathrooms and girls' bathrooms, boys' locker rooms and girls' locker rooms. I think it's primarily for safety and privacy. And as a school and a school board, you're charged with students' safety and privacy. It's expected from their parents that you're going to take good care of their kids while they're here, that you're going to protect them, that you're going to protect their privacy, that you're going to make sure they're safe. So when it comes to The transgender issue, I think that, let's take the example of a boy who thinks he's a girl, and he goes into the girls' locker room. The girls are not going to take that lightly, I don't think. I think they're going to be intimidated. You know, girls they're sometimes embarrassed when they're undressing and changing clothes and taking showers in front of each other, much less a biological boy. So I think when he comes into the room, it's going to be a threatening experience for the girls. And this is just the way I picture it. They're going to feel like there's inappropriate boundary invasion. They're going to feel like an unwelcome sexual or gender-directed conduct is going on. They're going to feel like their locker room has become an unwelcome, a hostile and excuse me.
I understand.
One word I can't make out. Hostile and offensive environment. You know, let me share those words with you again. Inappropriate boundary invasion, unwelcome sexual or gender-directed conduct. It makes their locker room into a hostile and offensive environment. Those words are from your sexual harassment policy 5011. And that's the criteria for a sexual harassment case, what I just defined there. That came right out of your policy. And that's what happens when you put a biological boy into a girl's locker room. It's the making of a sexual harassment case. So I would really encourage you to it's a complex issue with these transgender kids, and they deserve respect and to be treated with dignity. I don't argue that a bit, but they don't seem to fit well anyplace. And I really hope that you will take the time, go the extra mile to find a solution that protects everybody's privacy and everybody's safety. Thank you.
And finally, we have James Preston.
Thank you. My name is James Preston. I live at 3002 South Maple Street in Port Angeles. I apologize for my cracky voice, but asthma and allergies are killing me. My question is, and I apologize if I misunderstood anything at the last board meeting, so if I misunderstood anything, throw an eraser at me. At the last board meeting in January, the business and financial reports referenced, I believe, an $851,000 line item that represents an overpayment of the school bond. There was discussion on what could be done with those funds. Mr. David Knechtel said that he was researching that, and I was wondering what is the result of that research. Can those funds be used for repair, for maintenance, whatever? Do they have to be given over to some other department within the county or within the city? And then please confirm the source of the funds, that this payment was made after the bond had fully been repaid. What was the date that those funds were paid? At the time that this payment was made, was it intended that this would be the actual final payment, but in fact the final payment had already occurred? And again, what is the date of that? Were these funds paid out by the county treasurer? Who approved and actually sent the money out? Were the funds wired or mailed to the trustee, the bond trustee? Did either the treasurer's office or the school district contact the trustee and ask that the funds be remitted back? Or did the trustee notify the county of the overpayment and voluntarily remit the funds? And if so, what date did they come back? And if I'm wrong on my underlying assumption, I apologize.
Those questions need to go to David, and he can get back to you on that.
Thank you very much.
All right, and I
Excuse
believe...
me. I don't agree with the end of the list, though. I didn't realize we were supposed to sign in, but could I speak to it?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you could sign on. Are you on an agenda or non-agenda?
Well, I think it kind of is, but
Here you go.
right now,
Oh, yeah, here. Here, hey, you got it. Here, I'll do it.
My name is John Didrikson from 731 East 11th Street in Port Angeles, and I was one of those present at the meeting that Dr. Trudell mentioned, I guess June last year, was it?
14.
Long time, 14. And I was also one that got a phone call from Dr. Jackson following that as a follow-up, and I'd call that a pat on the back and thank me for expressing my opinions, but told me not to worry because this was something that was only going to affect 2 or 3 students and no big deal. I really don't believe that's true. I think the school policy, the school board at that time recognized that this was like sitting on a powder keg. It was something that invited more thoughtful consideration. I think to give people a 3-minute opportunity to express their concerns is totally inappropriate with an issue like this, and I could go on beyond my 3-minute limit here, but I know that we've got to follow procedure. But I do believe that it's something that requires much more thought. There's legal issues involved. I'd like to read just some little thing here. I guess I can limit what I'm trying to say to that, but this is something by the head of the Judicial Watch organization, which is not a partisan group, but it tries to pursue government by law and order. And the head of this group laments, I'll just read what he says here, I've seen so much corruption and self-dealing in Washington that when people tell me stories about what the government is doing and what's happening, I don't discount any tip or piece of information unless proven otherwise. So don't underestimate the value of your contribution to the public debate, your ideas and strategies. And please remember to go out and share what you're doing and what you're thinking. Be reformers yourself. Judicial Watch is here to help. This is a government that's deeply involved in creating the news that we're reading about all the time. And I take this as some encouragement to share something that he says here that I know to be true. He talks about bad law. All law is not good law. It says, take the Supreme Court's gay marriage decision. There you had a 5-4 decision with the court's opinion written by Justice Kennedy. We can't even contemplate the sort of totalitarian government it will take to impose this decision on us, because Justice Kennedy essentially said that if you don't endorse gay marriage, you are outside the law, you're the equivalent of a racist. The implication is that if you're a Christian and have any traditional religious faith or any traditional sense at all, and you object to a federal court, the Supreme Court, rewriting the entire basis of Western civilization by fiat, you will be targeted. If you are a public official who opposes the decision, you will be targeted and potentially jailed. He wrote this before this actually came to be true. This was, something he said last year, earlier in the year.
Mr. Dickinson, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm past my 3 minutes?
Yes.
You get the point. He says bad law must be resisted. That's the whole basis of our society. Our Declaration of Independence, it spells it all out. That's why we became America, to resist bad law. So thank you. I'm trying.
Okay. With that, those guys are leaving. It's all right.
Thank you.
It's late. You need to get some shut eye. We're going to move on then to 9.01, which is the Board of Directors' comments. Start down there. On the right, yes. Okay, so Susan, we'll start with you.
I'm sorry.
You're on board of
What you're doing, yes. Okay, yes. Well, I attended 5 facilities committee meetings, and they were interesting. I learned some things. I attended the we went to the conference. We did the legislative conference, and that was interesting, observing what was going on there. I went to the safety committee meeting, and that I can find my notes. Yes, I do. Okay. So first we had Christina Hurst talking about, from the Human Service Department, talking about, actually she was talking about needles on the school grounds, is what she was talking about. And she told us about how to dispose of your needle. If you find needles anywhere, how to dispose of them. If you don't know, you can put them in a plastic bottle. Make sure you screw on the lid. You're supposed to put one of those little things around them. And so you put those in your trash. So I learned about that. All right. So anyway, some interesting things other things were important is that she talks about the hostile intruder on your school ground. And one thing they cautioned us on is if that should ever happen and you have injured people, what you need to do is realize that if you have first responders there, they're going to go right past the injured people and they're going to try to find a hostile intruder. And a problem with Marysville was that accesses, once they did their investigation, I believe is what it was, some of the accesses were not closed and they had water damage because of that. So I'm not sure what it was, but anyway, they weren't closed. So that's something to think about when you talk about emergency procedures. Another situation that happened in Marysville, and these are some things that we probably have not thought about, is that there was where they set the, what do you call it, the proper name of it, where the mourners come and they put their wreaths and whether they put down for the memorial time, I guess is what it would be. Well, that was placed, and then the shooter's memorial was placed next to the victims, and there was a lot of conflict about that, so we want to make sure that we watch that, if that happened in the future. They talked about no one said we're going to have actually a review, security review and analysis of all the school grounds, which I think that's really good because that's the thing I've been looking to myself. And there's a discussion about red button remote alert lock on all the doors, and apparently we're getting an automatic lock all the doors, all of them, include the portables and everything. So that sounded like a good idea. And then they talked about the red and green card during a hostile episode, and to make sure that, let's see, the green card should be passed under the door after, not during the episode. And Jamie Weisler talked about she said, emergency preparedness coordinator, and Sky talked briefly about the alert system called Guard 911, and it's something that I guess we could purchase.
It's on the phone.
Yeah.
It's a phone system.
Okay. And, Jamie talked about the active shooter, we don't call them, we call them a murderer. No, appropriate to me. The Umpqua alert system did not work during their crisis. Some survivors played dead and they survived. They believe that helped them to survive. She talked about never having just one alert message, get it different ways. I think she wants to make sure that people understand what the message is, I think. And you need to have particular messages for particular types of events so people understand, I think, probably what the emergency is. And she talked about trauma dogs being available for kids after. Oh, something else that we need and I don't know if we have one of these, but the district needs a plan for property retrieval after the episode takes place, because sometimes people take an awful long time before they actually able to come back and retrieve their property, purses or notebooks or cell phones or whatever. So I don't know if there's a plan for that. And then something that I did want to bring to your attention, I don't know, when I was looking over all the WASDA bills, and I hadn't heard this brought up at all, but, and apparently I've called up, checked on this a couple of times, but HB 2823, I don't know if any of you are familiar with what that was, but there was a proposal which I thought was really excellent, because I told Marc I've been really looking into this and researching it. So there was a proposal in the House that would, I'll just read it to you because it is important, and they're going to try it again in long session. But what is it? It creates the Students Protecting Students program within the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction to provide students and the community with the means to relay information anonymously concerning unsafe, potential harmful, dangerous, violent, or criminal activities, or the threat of these activities to school officials, or, if necessary, to appropriate law enforcement or public safety agencies. Requires at least one age-appropriate education program, class, or activity designed to teach students about the Students Protecting Students program to be made available every school year to students in each common school. So I thought that was a really excellent idea that would be helpful. And I don't know how much else you have time for. I did have some questions. I don't know if they're appropriate to discuss right now or not, some of them. But one thing I did wonder is how often the school reviews an emergency plan? Is it done at the first of the year? And
evacuation drills, or were they practiced?
All types of, yeah.
Okay.
But my another question was this, that I know because I've been through it many times myself, we do the drills, and normally everyone is in class. Right. But that's not necessarily when we're going to have a disaster. And I'm thinking it will really be important to drill for all types of emergencies and do it when the emergencies actually could take place, when the kids are loading the bus, when they're unloading the bus, when they're out having lunch. Yes. So the simple way to do it, of course, is when they're in a classroom, and it's much less disruptive. But that does not prepare us at all for the types of emergencies that could happen.
Okay.
So that's something I want to talk about. And some other things, well, I don't want to take all your time, but anyway. Okay, so I attended that, and then I went to the end of the semester event with the kids in the technology, in carpentry and the vocational career. Yeah, they were all showing those, and that was very interesting. I enjoyed doing that. And I did a walk through the high school, which, well, that was good, seeing our kids on task and doing what they're supposed to do, and the instructors were enthusiastic, and that was great. And then I went to the talent show, and that was also very enjoyable. The kids were, everybody was a good entertainer, and we enjoyed that. And I think there's probably some things left out. But you go ahead. But I did want to talk about the security issue, because there's I have a lot more questions about it.
Am I next? Yeah. Well, I went to the United Way open house. They have new offices, which you mentioned tonight, which are just lovely. They have a huge boardroom now. I used to be on the United Way and board, and it's nice for them to have a new home because it's ADA accessible now. Everyone can get there. I also went to the monthly meeting of the Ed Foundation board, and that was my first meeting with them, and that was Dr. Jackson was there, and I was there, and it was very informative, particularly about talking about bond issues and funding and those kinds of things. I also went on a tour with Susan and Dr. Jackson through the high school, which was just wonderful. I certainly enjoyed it and learned a lot about what was going on. The teaching and learning, amazing. The facilities, not so amazing. Also attended, we all went to the legislative workshop in Olympia, which was quite interesting, and I did learn a lot about the School Board Association and what their political goals were, and that was good. And then I went to a workshop that the Special Ed Department held at the Skills Center 2 Saturdays ago, I believe, and it was wonderfully done. They let me come sneaking in. I thought I was going to be out of town that Saturday, but I wasn't, so I just went out there and spent the morning with them. They had some great presentations. I saw one on the emotional needs of highly capable students and in the classroom, and also one that I really didn't know anything about. They had a great speaker come from Chimacum to talk about transitioning people from high school, alternative high schools and special ed into the work world and into higher ed. It was a great, great learning experience for me. I really enjoyed it.
Good.
Well, since my last board meeting, which was actually a couple times ago, I had the opportunity to participate in the facilities committee along with Susan and others, and we're going to be having a presentation from that committee and the recommendations and the findings at this meeting, an upcoming meeting, so I think we're going to look forward to that. I was able to tour Roosevelt Elementary with Principal Wilson, which I thank you for that, and then also to tour the high school with Principal Marc. Jeff, thanks. That was really, eye-opening. The work that's able to be done there with a completely inadequate tool that is the school is remarkable but unsustainable. So I really appreciate that. I also attended the WASDA Legislative Conference and attempted to lobby some of our legislators. I came away from that experience with, I'm sorry to say, a very pessimistic attitude that the legislature will ever actually fully fund the military decision. I don't think they have the political will to do it. So, and I certainly don't think they're going to do it in the way that we think it should be done. Probably be major strings attached if the funding comes through at all. So, I'm quite pessimistic about that. I hope I'm wrong, because when I'm wrong, usually good things happen. I also had the opportunity to be on the radio with Superintendent Jackson and Cindy Kelly. That was great. Talking about a wonderful interviewer. We got a lot of good ideas out there. But I have to say, my favorite thing that I've done is on January 18th, I was able to go to the only Port Angeles High School home gymnastics meet of the year at Clallam.
God, I'm so glad
yeah,
you did
it
that.
was great. They were just, they were really, really good. It was a four-way home meet, and I know that they've done very well in their season, and the girls were really, really great. My daughter went with me, and she said, "Dad, please don't sit with me." And she's only 10. And she's only 10. So. Oh, of course. That's what you're supposed to do.
Okay, so that's that. Then I will go. I'm glad you went to gymnastics, because so far I've missed cross country and gymnastics. So I'll just carry on with that. I did been to a couple of Stevens wrestling matches, again, mom on the side, and I did the state swim dive meet, which we had, I think YNFU ended up in 4th on the podium, and one of the butlers got in a 6th place, maybe, I can't remember, he was on the podium. Our swim team wore these wonderful Rough Rider hats. It was quite interesting. Anyway, one of my kids got 14th in dive, so that's all right. I listened to your interview on KOMP. I thought you did a fantastic job. Anyone who wants to listen to it, it's on the podcast, you can listen to it. We had the board meeting that we all got together with a WASDA representative who came and sort of started us down the path of how we can become more cohesive since we're so many new members, sort of delineating what our role as a board member is, what Dr. Jackson's role is, and so we have some homework to do with that. I thought it was a really good use of time. I went to the highly capable meeting. I'm on that committee, and really what we've been talking about primarily is what the cut scores on that COGAT. Is the COGAT the appropriate measure? Did we spend some time over identifying kids? What are we going to do with these? We have some relatively large class sizes. So what that cut score is going to be is sort of where the work is going on the elementary level right now. So that's pretty much what I've done. You're up, Dr. Jackson.
Well, I'm really enthusiastic about our board getting out and going into the classes and going to the schools and seeing all the action. That's how you see it. You get a sense and a feel for the culture of what staff does every day with our kids. And we're very, very lucky that our schools are good schools. Can they be better? Absolutely. We're not perfect at what we do. We're not afraid to accept challenges. We're always constantly looking for a better way to do things. But I really, truly believe that the board having that sense of being involved in your community is a great sense. And we're very fortunate that you're now there in those schools and the radio shows and the conferences that we go to in Olympia. It's just a real pleasure to be there with you and share some of our headaches that we have in the public domain, because Dr. Jones is right. It's not the answers that we seek are really going to have to be from within. I don't know if Olympia is going to be able to deal with the Cleary decision. Total compensation for staff is another one, class size reduction, and go on and on and on. You get a headache thinking about these issues and how we're going to approach that. But it doesn't mean we don't stop trying. We don't scratch our heads and get together and throw energy at this to come up. Really good tour at the high school. Thank you, Mr. Principal. It's just so neat to get and listen to the kids sing, listen to them play, watch them debate, watch the teaching. There's some great teaching going on in our classes. We have a regional WASA awards program on April the 18th. If you are intending to go to this, right now Cindy is the only one who's committed. It's Monday. We have to pay a fee if you are going to go for the dinner, but it may give us a chance to recognize some work that one of our community or city, and it's the one time that we actually get to thank these people that do some great things. We went last year, we recognized the mentors, actually really Steve, and in respect for Kyle for the stuff that they were doing with the effort they were making in our block. I want to also acknowledge Patty Wood, the work that we're doing with trainings. I think that's a good thing. So we have one more training coming up, I believe, March 3rd. Is that right? Yeah, March 3rd. So that's coming right around the corner. I had the opportunity to also be a part of the facilities meetings, and I think that we'll be looking at some options that we can bring to the board of directors. Well, where do we go from here? What about all the facilities? I was at a Native American intervention meeting last week. Very good meeting. A lot of emphasis on working with youngsters, with our tribes, and continuing to seek out getting them across the stage. working with a lot of good people. I was in Arizona at the AASA meeting for 3,000 superintendents. You had to be a superintendent to get there. It's not all good news because when you put a bunch of superintendents together, it's miserable. On and on about national, state stuff. So, but the longevity of superintendents is getting shorter and shorter. It's scary because it's such a difficult position. And I just came away knowing, because I was on the board for AASA for 3 years, and to get on that board you had to be working with some political issues in Washington, D.C. And part of our dilemma with superintendents is that everyone wants a quick fix in education. And it's like, some cases of finding an overnight success, or the magic bullet. And it's not there. We know how much work it takes to educate our youngsters. It really does take team for us to be on the same page. But there's good leaders out there. We recognized an outstanding superintendent for Washington, who was Kent. He's Vancouver, and he is just, we have some great leaders that are moving into those ranks and doing good work. So you can't be discouraged that people in our community want to have leadership. People are calling for that. They want to be collaborative in finding out how we can make this work better. And in a couple of minutes we're going to hear from our principals who are doing their CSIP reports. And I got to tell you that in order to be a principal in this district, you have to be on your toes, because we have some outstanding leaders in our school district. And I've only been here a year and a half, but my staff has learned from them what success is and how they work with their staffs and with their communities. So we don't have all the answers. We learn a lot from the successful culture in our school district. It's just been a real pleasure to be a part of that and to grow from their experiences as well. I think that's it.
Okay. So now we move on to 10.01. Mr. Lisk, we're talking about the FOSS science kits.
Well, about 2 weeks ago, I had an opportunity to go down to ESD because we are a member of the Olympic Science Alliance Consortium down there. For about the last 5 to 7 years, I don't know the exact date, we kind of went away from just having a science book, having teachers trying to figure out how to put an experiment together, and having a wide continuity between one teacher who loves science doing a ton of it, somebody who doesn't really like know lots of how to do it. So what they did is went to basically the kit system, which you have examples in your notes there you can see going through. Those kits haven't been updated for about 3 years now, and haven't been trainings offered for about 3 years. And with next generation coming in, ESD has put together the proposal they have there before you, with the 2016 coming up with a brand new kit for 5th grade, redoing the 4th grade one, 2017, a couple more for the grades, 2018, and as it gets a little bit more and more. There's not enough time or money to redo them all at once, so the step-in program is what's there. Currently we pay about $50,080 for the kits, another $1,500 or more a year for travel to get them back and forth, back and forth. That's been the same price for the last couple of years. So next year it'll go up by $13,000. The following year it'll be $18,000 more, the $18,000, and then the $29,000 then drop back to where it was, because they'll all be updated. They're also putting in professional development again starting this summer because they have a new kit they need to go through, and they also realize there's a lot of new teachers out there that have come and gone. So it's time to get some training going so everybody can be the trainer. So it's very likely that this June or August, they'll be hosting right here at our Still Center, so our teachers can take part there, not have to worry about substitutes and things like that. You'll get the clock hours, and it's well offered for the ESD during the year. So of all the districts that are part of this, 100% of them signed up again, say yes, because it's the easiest, most cheapest way to get science hands-on into the hands of kids, where they're actually doing the STEM-type activities and making sure that each student has the same opportunity no matter which class they're in. And what they do is they take all the kids back, they restack them, refill them up, and they come back to the next class, back and forth with about 13 different school districts there. Nobody dropped out. In fact, Central CSIP came back in. They tried to do it on their own, realized that it was twice as expensive trying to fill those kids and make it their own as well as just work with a consortium. So we're making a proposal that we continue to go forward with this, give our teachers the information they need, give them background so they can put together a quality science program. And currently, if you look at your test data, we're about 70% in the 5th grade of kids meeting standard in science. State average is about 63. That gets passed on to the middle school, where we can focus on science as a regular class, compared to elementary school, they get several subjects to go through and lots of things to be working with. And so by the time they hit 8th grade at Stevens, they're 81% making standard, where the state average is 60, and we're sending those on to those quality teachers up at the high school and doing miraculous things up there with the program. So Port Angela School District has an extremely solid science program for kids, can only get enhanced, and so recommendations, we continue to be part of this alliance and move forward. Questions?
So they don't have a science book?
No.
So
Middle school doesn't have a science book.
Basically, this is it?
Correct.
Okay.
Same with middle school, we don't have a science book there either.
And looking at these, so they have different projects they're doing at different, one year we get one set of things and the next year we get another set of things?
No, if you go to the...
I looked at it, but I haven't.
Go to the colored handout there, and you can see these are the ones that they're offered at the grade level that they're going to be fixed. And so in kindergarten, they have the animals, 2+2. That's nothing's going to change with that, the brown. And they have structure, function, information processing, or the other one there. That one's going to stay the same too. So you can see as they go through, and they're going to bounce them around because with next gen, they don't have them in the same order. And so some of the things that are currently 6th grade are going to become 5th grade. Some of the things that are 5th grade are going to become 4th, and 4th will become 6th. So as you go through and look at the 3-year plan that the ESD's put together, that's what is going to be coming in the boxes for the teachers. And they come with a complete kit and the directions and everything to go there. And each of the teachers either been trained by the ESD or being trained by one of their colleagues at the building. So again, we can get some continuity, continue to get continuity for kids, because what we don't want to have is one student in one classroom in the same school getting a miraculous science experience, and another one over here not so much. This kind of ensures the continuity. And even when and kids in this district travel, I've had them and seen where they've been in 4 different elementaries by the time they're done. So at least this way, it doesn't matter where they go, they get the same science experience at that grade level.
And about 3 years ago, we fixed that because it was, Harker would do the crawdads, and then they'd go over to Roosevelt. He had transferred over to Roosevelt. They're like, I already did the crawdads. I say the crawdads because they all died.
Those crawdads.
They all died. It was quite an interesting year that year.
Butterflies, they sometimes make
Yeah, sometimes it's real science.
Exactly.
So as long as, David, you understand, this is going to have to get written right into the next year's budget and following. I'm a fan of FOSS kids, but.
Pick them up again.
You're picking them up again?
I think I'm up again.
Oh, you're still here. You don't get to leave. Well, yes, the CSIP reports come up now. So
the teachers put together a nice quality short report, 3 to 5 minutes. That'll be on the 3-minute mark. Anybody that goes over 5 minutes, there will be penalties that they serve with me, not with you guys. On the way. There's outstanding work going on at the elementary, middle, and high schools that you've seen as you walk through. You're going to hear more about it from each one of the administrators here, but I couldn't be more proud of watching the work that they do. I think you'd be impressed with some of the data they have, more importantly, the instructional techniques that they're using along the way. So we're going to start with Dry Creek, followed by Franklin, followed by Hamilton, Roosevelt, Stevens, and then the high school. And we'll catch Lincoln and Skill Center at another day. Thank you.
Well, good evening. Last that I spoke with the board was in October when we had the board out, and so welcome to our new members. So I'll share briefly here. I wanted to first say thank you so much for the health room support that we have now. We've increased our level 1 secretary to full-time. It's made a huge difference, and our new nurse as well, who started officially on Tuesday, so it's been great. So I'll speak to the 3 goal areas that Dry Creek is focusing on this year and a few highlights from that, and of course more in my full report here. So goal 1, we've been focused this year on relationships, building strong connections with students and families at Dry Creek. When you look at our CEE data that was taken in October, unfortunately, I don't think it does a great job of showing all the things that we've done since then. So that data appears flat against 2 years ago when we last looked. But some of the things that we have done this year were a meet and greet day that we did for students and families before the school year started. We have a Clallam welcome sign and a Pulling and Learning Together banner that we've proudly hung as people enter. And we have these new postcards this year. Someone was caught being a learner that teachers fill out and send home. We've seen 6th graders actually using these as bookmarks. It means so much to the kids to get this from their teacher in the mail. Moving to a monthly calendar and robocalls. It seems to work well with our community for keeping them in the loop. And we've partnered a lot with our PTO. Family movie nights and family literacy nights, alternating every month, bringing in a lot of families. That's our goal, engaging families, partnering with NJ ROTC and our reading teacher to bring that, the family literacy nights. Goal 2 is also on relationships with our staff, and the fact that we've had a lot of turnover on our staff and especially in administration, focusing on positive collaborative staff culture. And there again, looking at the CEE data that was taken in October, it unfortunately doesn't show all the things that we've done since then. It appears either flat or even declines from 2 years ago when they just had a brand new principal for 2 months. But that said, we've been focusing a lot on staff-led professional development, had staff go to some conferences and bring back ideas to share, team building activities to build our teamwork together, intentional teaming around data. We meet bi-monthly at the very minimum to look at RTI data with all of our teams. And then a big hit this year has been peer observations, and Joyce referenced. In our building, what we've done is a couple of peer observations so far where teachers had the opportunity to take 40 or 50 minutes time and then go and see colleagues. And this is a great experience. We talked a lot about it it's all about you. It's about it's not about giving feedback to someone, it's about what this means for me in my practice. And that has been really huge to hear the takeaways that staff has had. And people have worked together and seen each other in the lunchroom for years, but never actually seen each other teach. So that's been a huge, huge thing this year. Goal 3 was is to outperform the state by 3 to 5% in our Smarter Balance data, and that's still to be determined. We'll be taking that later this year, so that'll be in math and ELA. One thing that we have done, a lot of our elementary schools, is push the testing date as late as we possibly and comfortably can this year. So giving kids as much time for instruction and pushing math the latest there so that we get more concepts in before we test. But lots of math data conversations on teams this year. We've been examining the MAP data, like Joyce was talking about. Dry Creek is also a school that's piloting in grades 3 through 6, and we're liking being able to see the growth with that. 5th grade support, we've been pushing AmeriCorps and our PE teacher, who used to be a teacher up at the middle school. We've been pushing them in to the 5th grade in the morning to deal with the high number and need in that grade, providing extra support. We had a team, as I said before, that went to a Kim Sutton Math Fluency Conference. They came back and they shared practical strategies, and we'll be doing more around that. And our plan is to develop a school-wide focus and approach. We've noticed a real deficit in the area of number sense and also math fluency. So we're looking to develop as a school sort of a scope and sequence of each day, 5 to 9 minutes, how we can hit in every classroom the math fluency and number sense piece with practical activities. So that's about it. I think I'm past my 3 minutes. Do I owe people lunch?
No, you're good.
Questions?
I just want to say again how much I enjoy visiting the school. There's so much going on out there. It's a wonderful place for children to be.
And I'd love to invite more of you out to come and see it. So you're welcome.
On my list.
What's that?
It's on my list.
Excellent. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You were hiding back there, I asked you about Tristan.
Tristan did get 6th and 8th. Very good. But it looks like Cameron got 8th in the paper, and we were very excited about that. It was wrong. It's all right. Anyway, thank you so much for letting me present about Franklin. We are extremely proud of our students and staff, and we work together every day to serve every child. So 84% of our students mastered 7 out of 9 sounds in November. In kindergarten, this is a higher percentage than last year's cohort, so we are really hoping that we have a higher percentage by the end of the school year, mastering 26 sounds. We did give the Hope Mifflin Unit 3 benchmark test recently, and they range from about 55% meeting standard at grade 3 to 71% meeting standard at grade 5. In math, our students scored really well on topics 1 through 4 benchmark tests through grade 2, and then we had a significant dip in grades 2 through 6. That is fairly typical. Our focus for our collaborative day is our internal data in science is similar to years past, with our students scoring about 62% on their first 4th grade kit to 95% passing the kindergarten animals 2x2 FOSS kit. Our internal data right now is in a little bit of a state of flux. Teachers are doing an excellent job determining what they need to teach, how long they need to spend on each item, simply by what they assess daily in the classroom and by their instruction, by the assessments that they do on a daily basis. So the formative assessment is online. However, we may have assessments that don't align for a little while we're in this murky spot, trying to figure out what we really want to use to collect our data. In examining our goals this year, we are making good progress, especially in the area of monitoring, teaching, and learning. We increased from 74% to 85% of our staff thinking we're doing a good job in that area. Our instructional leadership team meets to discuss what we're going to do on our early release days and guiding our next steps for Franklin. We share instructional strategies. We plan math and reading after school opportunities to just talk about what we're doing in each of those content areas. In math, we're also exploring different ways to support students, trying to provide them access to lots of different concepts that we've maybe been struggling with in the past. We've been using Jump Math, Engage New York, along with Envisions to try to provide and shore up some of the holes that we feel like students have had. We really need to figure out how we can measure whether those things are working or not. So we are still in progress of doing that. In English Language Arts, we're also working on ways to infuse writing into our reading curriculum. This is most challenging for 3rd grade students who already struggle to comprehend, read closely, and now add writing to their repertoire with learning how to infer and respond to all kinds of complex questions. So the Common Core adds this into their standards, and the SBA demands that they use this to respond to various texts and refer back to the text that they're reading as they respond. So it's a challenge to get kids to be able to master all of that in the short time frame that we have them. So beyond the basic instructional framework, we spend a great deal of time building a strong community, both within classrooms and as Franklin as a whole. Our PTO and our student council both play a great part in supporting our community along with our counselor. We also provide lots of time for special events to try to bring our families into our school. Our next large events will be our annual science night, which will be March 10th. You're all invited. It's a fantastic evening. We usually have about 200 students come through, probably about 400 people throughout the evening. We celebrate our activities that focus on students such as student council elections, after school and during school enrichment opportunities. We have a math club after school, art club during lunch, extra tutoring support through one-on-one volunteers, Dynamite readers, and AmeriCorps support. So we really look forward to a great second half of the year at Franklin. Thank you so much for your time.
I'm going to ask you a question, but it's really not just directed at you. It's kind of, so we're in year 3 of Envisions, right? Mm-hmm. Isn't this year 3? And yet,
4 would be more.
Year 4?
4.
Yeah. So it seems like we're having a lot of trouble with math, not Franklin Elementary, but across the district.
It's a really good question.
Do we screw up?
I don't think so. I think, well, may I?
It's okay.
Take it away and
Take it
you
away.
answer.
I'm asking
Shannon.
Amity to answer, and I understand it's for everybody.
But it's a really good question because, and I have allowed my staff to dabble when I think that they're pretty proficient in teaching in general. Try whatever you think your kids are going to be able to use to access. The SBA and Common Core has really thrown a wrench. Envision said it was Common Core line,
Right.
as do many curriculum. However, we don't teach curriculum, we teach students. And students and curriculum don't always match up the way we would love them to perfectly come to us in these wonderful packages. They don't come to us perfectly in packages, and we have to meet them where they're at and move them forward. And some of them come with lots of math background, and some of them come with very little math background. So I'm not saying that Envisions is wrong. Envisions has some very good, excellent, high-quality pieces, and lots of kids can access it. Some kids can't. And so if they can't, we have to find out a way to shore up those students who are unable to access that or find other ways to support it. We also have to figure out the scope and sequence and the order we teach it, because we have to test at a certain time of year, and sometimes we don't get to certain content that we should. How fast can we teach things? How much can we shove in to the short time we have? And there's so many questions that come down to that, sir. It's a more complicated response than I could probably give you right now. No, I don't think we made a mistake, but we are dabbling right now in, can we use Envisions as the core and find other things to supplement and support maybe that as the core, or do we need to find something else? Because I do have a couple who are using something else. They're still taking the Envisions benchmark test to see, but that's working really well in the lower grades. But we've always kind of done well at the lower grades. It's when you hit grade 3 and they have a steep learning curve. They're doing multiplication, they're doing division, they're doing fractions, and they've not seen fractions before grade 3. They really aren't taught. And that's a lot. Commutative, associative, and distributive property all taught in one lesson in the Envisions. Wow, that's a lot in one lesson.
So if I'm hearing what you're saying correctly, in your opinion, Envisions is a fine curriculum, but it's hitting a slimmer slice of the students than we would hope for a comprehensive math curriculum.
If all of our students came to us well prepared with all the advantages that we would hope all of our students would have, I think Envisions would hit probably right where it should. It's a solid curriculum.
Well said, thank you.
Thank you.
And March 10th is a board meeting.
I know, you should just come on up beforehand. Start at 6. Okay. I'm sorry. But we always do it the day before that collaborative day because kids don't have to come back to school the next day.
Thank you for your input. I did not mean to put you on the spot.
Nope, that's all right.
You
can put me on the spot.
I'm curious. We're getting in now enough. It's like we had excuses for the first year and really for the second. It's all right. Kind of starting to lose them. New curriculum isn't what we thought it was going to be. All right. You're on. You're fighting on it. We love podiums.
Yeah. All right, thank you for allowing me to go ahead and take a few moments of your time. I would like to say first, ditto, an awful lot of what Amity just went ahead and said, so I'm going to kind of cut this down a little bit because I'm also looking at the clock and I know you guys are pretty tired of what's going on here. Hamilton's theme continues to be Hawk Heroes helping themselves and others to learn. Our population is now at 367 students. 5 years ago, we were 312. We're anticipating more next year. Hamilton continues to grow. The west side continues to have new construction. People are moving in. The big drawback is that Hamilton has no other space to put these students. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Attendance has maintained a consistent 95%. I've had only one court petition thus far. We've had 6 school suspensions. We continue, along with the other schools, to go ahead and implement PBIS. Our 4 expectations are: be respectful, be responsible, be safe. You do all those things, you be more awesome. So we continue to emphasize that throughout there. Key component of that is the people that you honored up here earlier today, which was the counselors. Adam Taylor has done a phenomenal job. I know he's freed up a lot of my time to spend more time inside the classroom. 3 goals that Hamilton had. One was an organizational goal, which came from the CEE data. What we wanted to do is increase our frequent monitoring of teaching and learning from 70% to 75%. We exceeded that goal to 85% on the November CE data. When you guys come and visit us, I think it's April, I'll have more data in there so you can see our 5-year trend that's going through there. Again, one of the key components of increasing that data is, of course, TPEP. As much as it is labor intensive for us, we understand that it also allows us some very valuable conversations and more time to go ahead and meet with our teachers and have some in-depth conversations. Our 2 other goals, again, are tied to the SBA, and that is ELA, and that is, of course, math as well. Our goal in math is to continue to be 7 to 10% higher than the state. Our 1 grade that was a little bit low, I think it was 4 percentage points lower than the state average. We went ahead and sent those teachers to a math coach, coaching training, 2 days per Renton. I figured if you're trying to teach coaches to teach teachers, why not send the teachers what they're trying to teach the coaches, because that's where you want to have it, right? Because they're providing the instruction, so don't send the coaches, send the teachers. Our second goal has to do with ELA. We want to continue to be more than 10% higher than the state. With that in mind, we went ahead and sent our 1st grade teachers to how to use iPads to go ahead and promote literacy. And also our kindergarten teachers went to a 2-day training as well. Enrichment activities that are going on. First, we went ahead and had 4th grade, did Night of the Notables, Mr. Pomeroy. Well, that's where students went ahead and researched a historical character that they went ahead and saw positive character traits with, that they wished themselves to emulate later on. Some of the characters that they went ahead and investigated was Helen Keller, Martin Luther King, Einstein, Amelia Earhart, some people with courage behind them. The other thing that we went ahead, and Sarah, you didn't mention this, but I appreciate you going there, was for the 2nd year in a row, we've had the Missoula Children's Theater come through. We had the Jungle Book. We had 90 students audition for 60 roles. Last year, there were 50 roles, and we had just about 50 kids. So each year, it's getting larger and larger and larger. 2 major performances. It was amazing. Kids had a great time.
Standing room.
There was nice, wasn't it? And then finally, 2 other activities just going on this coming week is we have Literacy Night coming in on the 2nd. And then the 6th grade students next Friday are heading to the Seattle Museum of Life Challenger Center, where they're going to run a simulation to Mars. Phenomenal activity. You're talking about STEM, that's where you're working on it. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
Gary, how's the Hamilton community? Is there buy-in with the Hamilton community for PBIS? How's that going?
It's going really well. You know, it did help to have a full-time counselor. Last year was the first year that Hamilton had a full-time counselor. The year prior we had half-time, and before that we didn't have any counselor. So we were kind of working at the best that we could and implementing the policies that we put in when I came in 5 years ago. There's a buy-in because there's the premise of PBIS is reinforce the positive behavior, let kids know what they're doing well, but make sure it's not false reinforcement. As well, extinguish the negative behaviors, but then have common expectations. And don't set an expectation that you're not willing to enforce. Because then what you do, if you set an expectation and then you decide, I'm not going to enforce this expectation, then what you're telling kids is you don't have to listen to my expectations because I'm not going to enforce them anyway. And it's okay to change those expectations as long as you clearly explain that to the students, that you're changing it and here's the reason why. And then it works really well. To kind of touch on your math question, Sarah, very quickly when it comes to revisions, what we've spent an awful lot of time in our PD time going this year is taking a look at what the curriculum says, what the Common Core says, and what SBA says. And you got to get that little triangle. And ideally, they're all aligned, but we know they aren't. So what our teams have been doing is looking through the successes that we had last year in math, particularly at the 3rd grade level, and going, what did we do well? And in what order are we going to go? Because what we've discovered is that the order in Envisions doesn't necessarily follow the order of the Common Core. So we're being very purposeful in the order that we're teaching things and eliminating some, emphasizing some, de-emphasizing others.
I'm sorry I haven't been out to the school. I went out the one day, it was great, met with a lot of teachers, and then every Wednesday since, I've had something, but it's coming Wednesday.
That's okay, we'll see some of you guys in April, I believe.
Well, I'll be before that. I might be there.
March, you guys are going to be there in March too. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
So good evening, thanks for having me here again. And so just a lot of great teaching and learning going on at Roosevelt. Just this week I'm so excited about the collaboration between teachers, how actively and engaged they are with the assessment data. They're looking at it, they're using it for instruction. I'm so proud of them, and they are a great staff. And as you may know, Mary Hebert has joined us for this last half of the year as our Dean of Students, and she's a great asset to our staff, our community, and to myself. Again, also a huge thank you for the 4-hour level 1 nurse secretary. It's making a huge difference, and our secretaries and staff really appreciate it, and that support. At Roosevelt, we are about 500 students. Our attendance is averaging about 97% of the students there every day, so we're excited by that. As you can see, our suspensions are down this year relative to last year. We filed 4 court petitions and have seen positive outcomes from those. As far as our data, we are looking at our data as we look at all of our goals. Goal 1 around math in particular. If you look at the CSIP report, we had at our kindergarten, 90% of our students met the standard for the first benchmark. At first grade, 75%, second grade, 100%. 3rd through 6th are doing the math testing. And so we're looking at, when you look at the numbers here, the percentage of students who are at or above the 50th percentile at this point. And the numbers show a lot of progress. As you looked at our numbers last year on this Smarter Balance, you saw that our 5th grade numbers were low, and we had a district. But when we look at our MAP testing for the winter, we see that 61% of our students in 6th grade, who were 5th grade last year, are at the 50th percentile or higher. So we've been putting a lot of support there, and we know that that's working for those students. Again, for the 3rd and 4th grade, those teachers continue to collaborate twice, 3 times a week, spending hours looking at their data. And that's the piece that we like about the maps. It's not only just you get the data at a snapshot, but you can dig deeper and get the exact skills that students either have or are missing. And so we appreciate that piece. Along with the reading data, we continue to see progress. 85% of our kindergartners have mastered 16 or more of their 26 SAMs. First graders, 87% of them have met the standard on DRA. Second grade, 78% have met the standard on DIBELS, which was an increase from 48% in the fall. Huge progress. So we're seeing that across all areas. It's very motivating to staff and to students and certainly to parents. As far as enrichment, we continue to offer Math Olympiad. We have our students during the day continuing to do Battle of the Books. The music and orchestra concerts continue as well. And for our staff, a big focus has also been our professional development. And if you looked at our CE data, you would see that we had quite a jump in the percentage of staff who feel that we provide focused professional development. And so those numbers increased from 58% to 71%. And our ILT team continues to guide that work and pays close attention to teacher needs and is looking at our data as well as our school improvement plan. So we just have a lot of really great learning going on, and our PTO is a huge support of that, and every single family at Roosevelt is working really hard to support their children at school. Questions?
Yes. So thank you for the opportunity to talk about Stevens. We've done some great things since we last talked about our CSIP in November. And both academic relationship and professional development has improved and increased dramatically, especially in the last 26 days that I've been principal, so that's been great. I would like to begin to talk about academics. Our math department is currently using a variety of curriculum pieces to try to splice together what Common Core is asking them to do. They use Engage New York, they use their textbooks, they use other supplemental materials that come in, and they are doing an amazing job. We saw great gains in our data. Even since October, we've been using the MAP test, and we've been, within our pilot, we've seen an increase between 5 and 20 points from the fall test to the winter. And in our SPED department, especially in using jump math, we have seen an increase in an average of 20 to 30 points in just those few months. It's been a wonderful growth data point, and I want to talk a little bit about what MAP means overall to our building at the end. ELA, we use interactive notebooks. All both 7th and 8th grade use interactive notebooks. Those are a great tool. They're now rolling up from 7th to 8th grade, so ELA teachers get to continue where 7th grade left off with those notebooks, especially in the grammar portion. And again, in the MAP test, we saw from fall to winter, our greatest gains in language arts, our greatest gains in language arts was actually in language usage. We saw significant increases, and that was one of our biggest concerns going into the SBA, was the grammar portion, since it hadn't been part of the MSP. We also have been designing and continue to design unit assessments paired with science, so that when they are giving the 3 essays of argumentative and informative and narrative, those are paired with the science curriculum, so they can do the research and science class and write about it in language arts. In science, I've already spoke about the unit tests that they've paired with ELA. They're also very diligently working on next-gen standards, and a lot of professional development has been centered around that. Fall benchmark tests from this year versus last year were up 2 to 4%, which is excellent, especially for Stevens, when we keep hitting double-digit numbers above the state. They continue to grow within their own department. Overall MAP benefits that we've found, it is instantaneous growth data. We have kids who hit level 1 with SBA and unfortunately maybe hadn't seen a lot of academic success in the last few years, get to actually see growth from the fall to the winter. I've talked to quite a few students who were so proud of themselves for improving both language usage, reading, and math, all 3 of them, by 2 to 4 to 5 points, but it was still growth. And MAP data allows those students to be able to be proud of themselves, quite honestly. So there's that self-competition, there's that self-affirmation, and those are great pieces, especially since it's instantaneous data that the teachers get to also use in designing the curriculum for the rest of the year. Finally, technology, of course, is a big piece of this. We have a cart of 30 Chromebooks. That freed us up significantly when we structured our tests in January through the beginning of February. We were slammed for space, quite honestly, last year with SBA testing, and we were quite nervous about this year with MSP also being online, but that cart significantly improved and relaxed the tension in the building. We were able to get some science teachers back in and doing some writing with their labs, and we couldn't do that for up to 6 weeks last year. I would like to thank our new Assistant Superintendent, Chuck Lisk, for finding and writing another I-grant, so we get a second cart of 30. The building did a real happy dance when I got to announce that. The second piece that I'd like to talk about is relationships. Especially at middle school, those are significantly important. I'd like to thank the board for allowing us to have another counselor, a nurse, and secretary. Those all make it makes a huge difference in our building. Leanne Grasseth right now is putting on parenting classes. We have 15 families that show up every Tuesday night. They get a meal, the kids get activities, and Leanne takes the parents through parenting classes. We specifically target those kids that have been, quite honestly, high flyers in our office, and we've seen those parents actually come back repeatedly, so it shows a huge success. Nancy Bowman, our counselor, she does our Fill the Gap food bank bags. They get a small meal maybe in those bags on Thursday, and through her and our PTO, we've been able to increase those bags to 36 families, and we're actually able to add peanut butter, jelly, bread, all these other staples that don't necessarily come in the bag. The kids love it. They're not embarrassed. It's a wonderful program. We're trying to improve it or increase it up to about 45 families. She also does a girls' circle once every other Thursday. 25 girls meet to discuss empowerment. Today we had Megan Ventura from Phoenix Dragon talk to the girls about how to empower themselves physically and how to stand well, and every single girl said that was absolutely phenomenal. We're working through PBIS right in the middle of Tier 2. We've already identified our hotspots, so now there's the buy-in of those 20% kids that needs extra supports. We have 14 clubs at 10 kids plus, so that's 140 plus kids that are involved in clubs. Our incentives continue to be bowling and skating, and that's once every other month. Our sports programs have 20%-ish participation of our entire student body. And we just did a book wars with the library where we had 45 kids in the library doing like a trivia night where they were yelling out answers and they were completely happy and everybody shouting, and it was so much fun to watch. 20 of those kids are now going to the finals on March 11th. Finally, professional development. We have teachers that go to ESD regional meetings in science, language, arts, and math. We just had 2 ELA teachers go to a conference yesterday in Tacoma titled What's New in Young Adult Literature, and they came back super stoked to buy more books. We do peer-to-peer observations. We use our Wednesday AM meetings for talking in departments about aligning curriculum and talking about assessments. Our lid day, the staff at our team leader meeting asked for more professional development. That program spits out a lot of data, and it looks like shiny baubles to all of us. We get really distracted with all the numbers that come out. We don't necessarily know what all of them mean. So we asked downtown to see if we can get 2 to 3 hours of professional development with somebody from math to help us disseminate that data. TPEP I put under professional development because it really is collaborative, talking to teachers about what's happening in their classrooms. And now that I am the evaluator of all 31 certificated teachers in the building, I've been doing 15-minute check-ins with everybody just to get on the same page at the very beginning. Finally, I would like to thank the board for your confidence in me to step forward and be the interim principal for the next 5 months. It means a lot, and it means a lot to Stevens, and I'd like to thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
Well, Jeff's coming up, just so you know, I'm not playing favorites with Stevens Middle School.
Oh, sorry.
The grant that I wrote when we got back real fast puts a kit in every elementary school of 30 Chromebooks, and 2 of them in Franklin, 2 of them in Hamilton, to help meet that need for testing and getting kids an access. So it was a collaboration with Jared that we got real fast, but they should be here in 4 weeks.
This is the thing we talked about. That's right, am I right?
It's a done deal.
Good work. You're on, Jack.
All right, it's close to my bedtime, so if I start slurring my words, forgive me. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to report on the Port Angeles High School Continuous School Improvement Plan. At Port Angeles High School, our building clear and shared focus has 3 goals. 1 is to improve student academic performance and motivation by examining assessment and grading practices. 2 is to align curricula to Common Core standards and support students taking the smarter balanced assessment. And our 3rd focus is to promote a safe and positive climate and culture on the Port Angeles High School campus. Our book study on grading practices approaches its conclusion. Anytime you look at grading practices with teachers, you're talking about a paradigm shift of long established practices. But the teachers have been very responsive to new ideas. They are research-based, and teachers report that they have changed their grading practices to incorporate recommended research-based best practices, including but not limited to these. Only measuring hard evidence of students' attained learning goals, avoiding factoring student behaviors into grading, unless explicitly related to learning goals, using incompletes and interventions rather than zeros, adjusting the grading scale so F is a range from 50 to 59% instead of from 0 to 59% when the other letter grades are only a 10-point span. Grading only summative assessments, in other words, students' best effort rather than averaging all assessments together. Retesting with focused revision and customized retests, and a strategy called double dip, whereby the teacher adjusts quiz scores retroactively if the student does better on the corresponding section of the subsequent unit test. So the way that works is if the student does improved performance on the section of the unit test but bombed on an earlier quiz, the teacher will actually go back and raise the quiz score in the grade book. So it encourages the student to improve and doesn't penalize them for making mistakes, because you want students to make mistakes because that's part of learning. As we wrap up the book study on grading practices, we will discuss the feasibility of adopting grading policies. We've talked about whether it's appropriate to have policies at the building level or policies at the department level, because what works in grading in English class might not work as well in, for example, orchestra class. Aligning curriculum with Common Core standards, our second goal, is an ongoing process, especially in the core academic subject areas. As noted in my written report, academic departments continue to use Wednesday morning collaborative time to improve alignment. The science teachers, who traditionally have been a very tight collaborative team, they are always tweaking and working together to align their instruction, especially in the integrated science program. They feel that they've progressed as far as they can without seeing what a state assessment in science is going to look like. And I think somebody mentioned that idea that aligning with Common Core is aligning the curriculum with Common Core standards, but also what is the assessment going to look like. And the teachers are savvy and they zero in on that right away. Positive, smarter balanced assessment English language arts results last year showed that our English language arts program is aligned with Common Core standards. They're still working on changing their benchmark assessments to line up with the smarter balanced interim assessments. In math last year, you may recall that we only tested 80 students because the state insisted that we test all juniors, but the juniors were pretty savvy as well, and they said, well, we've already met the graduation standard, why should we take this test again? So they opted out in large numbers, and this was a phenomenon statewide. But this year, we're projecting testing 250 to 300 students in algebra. So this is going to give us very important data that will let us know how we're doing in our algebra instruction and whether we're aligned in math or not. In the area of climate and culture, we are in our first year of implementation of PBIS, which stands for Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports. I would like to call out the fact that disciplinary referrals are down over 50% over last year, and the number of students receiving referrals dropped from 221 to 49. So I don't know whether to attribute that to the PBIS program and the incentive awards that we're giving, lots of bottles of Gatorade, or it's the clearer standards. It's also, I think, has to do with the cohort that we received. A lot of teachers have expressed that this year's incoming freshman class is a lot more low drama than some of the classes that we've had in the past, and that ripples throughout the whole class, or throughout the whole school as far as climate and culture. These data points support my sense that overall campus climate at the high school continues to improve. We recently received data from our district climate survey from last November, and I was pleased to find that our mean scores on the staff survey increased significantly in all areas compared to the last survey from October 2013. We also outscored the top 20% of high-performing schools in all categories on both staff and parent surveys. Finally, we have 256 out of a cohort of 268 currently enrolled regular ed seniors on track to graduate, which is 95.5%. So, do you have any questions?
I actually do, I'm sorry. Okay, so there, at first I would say that the culture there has improved tremendously, and I truly lay most of that at feet. The culture up there, I think, has been happier than I've known in my however many years. Okay, next question is, at your algebra, you're going to test all those children in algebra. How does that affect those kids who took it in 8th grade last year? Are they going to have to take an algebra test again?
I'll get you the answer to that question. I'm not sure. Lillian Cohn is responsible for testing, does a great job of it, and I'm not sure exactly. I think that the students, they've changed the math so that the students who are currently enrolled take the test instead of waiting until a specific year to take it. So it's the students that are enrolled in algebra and algebra 2 that will take the SBA.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
This just came to my attention in the last week, and you may not know the answer. Not all districts, when you're talking about, I'm going back to grading, they have that A-. And a lot of the districts, and that's not a lot, I know 3 other districts, that A- is still a 4 point. So an A, because you can't get, I guess the theory, according to the person I talked to, one person I talked to, is that you can't get a 4.08 or whatever, but you can go down to a 3.99 by getting an A-. Is that something that's school specific, state specific, district specific?
I don't know.
Because it seems to put some of our kids at a little bit of a...
Well, the state doesn't allow us to weight grades. That's right. Although there's some discussion now about changing that.
Because we're fighting California's rules. That
Right.
You can, but yeah.
But the college admissions officers know, if it says Washington State, that across the board the students' grades are all the same. So they're not allowed to weight.
No, but they still can count an A- though as a 4.
So giving their own students a little boost.
Right.
If they do that.
Still an A.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just curious.
That.
Because it didn't seem like a fair fight to me then for some of these districts to be able to give their kids, you get an A-, you're still going to get your 4.0.
Yeah, and one of the things that's been really helpful to me is I go to league principals meetings once a week or once a month and talk to all the other principals. And this is really my only opportunity to talk to a peer group of high school principals. So issues like that, we kind of go around and discuss it. So I'll bring that up and
I'm not
see what I
advocating
can
for
find
change, I'm just curious.
Right, yeah, no, that's a good question. All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay. So we got through our CSIPs. All right, so we'll get back there. So now we're going to go on to the report on the 9th and 10th grade students at the Skill Center.
Jody's not here, and I wanted to pass on information to the board that we wanted to at least have an option of increasing 9th and 10th grade enrollment to students that qualify to take classes at the Skill Center. And in order to implement that policy, we're having the principals at Lincoln High School and the Skill Center work together so that we're not in conflict with each other. If we start 3 new schools at the Skill Center, right, that's going to take students from other sections of our other schools and create an imbalance in staffing. So, but if in the 8th grade where students were starting to ask questions about career options in their life and they qualify for classes, then at least allow that option. For example, we have some students in the 9th grade, they can't take hospitality because it deals with county funding, things like that. So there's limits to what you can take and what you can't take. But Jody wanted to at least have the option available to her. She knows that other skill centers throughout the states are doing that.
Okay, so I guess I have a question. So the Ad Council has signed a letter of understanding about this.
Yes.
But there's a law which is working its way but has not actually passed. So by law, their 9th and 10th graders aren't allowed in the Skill Center format, right? The law is Senate Bill 6415. So I guess it seems premature that we've passed this letter of understanding when the law hasn't even passed yet.
Yeah, well, there's a practice in skill centers in Washington, that some skill centers, according to Jody, are allowing ninth graders to their schools. And I guess my question is, why are they doing that if there's a law saying it prohibited? So she did call and find out that that does take place. But in this law, this would erase some of that. But
Right, but it
we
hasn't
took it all to the other
passed yet.
superintendents. The other superintendents wanted to allow that practice to take place.
I guess my concern is that we're going to have this wholesale, not wholesale, but we're going to have a number of children move out of the high school over to the skill center.
Could.
That potentially is not even following the letter of the law as it currently is.
Yeah, we need some clarification.
I feel like we shouldn't be allowing that until we,
Clarification. Yeah, I mean, I agree, just because some other ones are, just because some other
Two
ones are doing
wrongs.
it,
Yeah, right.
doesn't mean we should. If there, if we have other evidence in this email that, you know, this 6415.
We need, when superintendents meet again, I'll take this up. And report back to the board.
okay. So now we're moving to 11.01. All right, David, you're on. I've done it, no pressure, it's just helpful. I'm kidding.
It's kind of cold in here, isn't it?
It's freezing. I remember that from every year.
Joyce, is there a way to turn it
And the heat turned off.
I tried to push the buttons over here, didn't do it. I'm doing okay, but I was noticing people, the board, Madam Vice President and members of the board, I'm very pleased to be in front of you and to give you an update as far as the finances of the district for the month ending January 31st, 2016. What you see in front of you here is what our current fund balances are at the end of the month. I would like to just point out that this 5.9% here that you see in the general fund, that last year at this time, at the end of January, we were at about $5,050,000. So we seem to be a little bit ahead this year. There is an increase in state revenues and some other things that contribute to that because of our increase in enrollment and things like that, which we'll kind of see on the next page if I talk a little bit more about that. So there was, Mr. Preston had talked a little bit about I think he was bringing up some questions about the debt service fund of $825,000 that we have left, and I can certainly talk a little bit more about that at some point with him personally or in front of the board. You guys can decide that way at some point if you'd like. There were a lot of questions that Mr. Preston had asked that actually would take a little bit, actually quite a bit of time probably to answer. As far as the makeup and what we can do with that and where it came from, and there's some additional analyses I would probably need to make in that respect that would take some time. But currently, by law, it needs to sit there.
I'm just going to step out. Did you have your questions listed out? Did you give those to Jenny to pass on?
Oh, yeah, I could do that, yeah.
Because that would make, I think, David's job a little easier.
Exactly, and he doesn't have to answer tonight, no.
Oh, no, but thank you. I apologize, David, for interrupting you there. I forgot to pass that.
I like that idea. Yeah, that's for sure. That would be really good. It is by law at this point. It needs to stay there, at least at this point in time. It's part of that answer. We can go on. Do we have any questions about this information here that you see in front of you? Okay. So we go on here to our little. Thank you, Tony, for blowing that up. So here is our current an analysis of the revenues and expenditures from the current month and month to date. And you will notice that last year at this time we had about $16.4 million. The year-to-date revenues we have currently at $18.4 million. Most of that is due to the increase in enrollment from apportionment and LEA money that's coming in. That's local effort assistance money that's designed to help equalize some of the levy monies across the state. That actually is not enrollment driven. But we did get $150,000 more so far this year. And there's about $100,000 more of state forest money that's come in. I assume that means that people have been harvesting timber more this year, because that's basically, I understand that's where that money comes from. There's also an increase in the federal special purpose money here, as you can see. That's mostly due to some Title I money. That we're getting an increase in Title I money, which is mostly be used for hopefully helping the disadvantaged and that sort of thing in their education. About $120,000 of that is IDEA money, which is federal special ed money. There's the AmeriCorps money that's coming in, that's part of that category that we're getting now, which is a new endeavor that we've embarked on. And there's also about $125,000 of Medicaid admin match money, which is really just a timing thing. As far as the Medicaid admin match, that's federal money, but it's more, that comes in when we claim it and when we do it that way. So that's not always something we can predict. It's based on the time that is spent trying to refer people to different kinds of services there. So you will notice that expenditures are up too, of course. We got $17.4 million that we've spent so far to date, and about $16.1 million last year at this time. So that makes sense. We should be spending more money for getting more money, right? So any questions there? Or do you have any questions on any of the other schedules that I've given you?
And you're really all right?
I'm good.
Okay, so that's... All right, so next report we have, I think, is
enrollment.
Is enrollment. And so I'd like to point out that there's actually a decrease from last month. That's why I wanted to start with this particular schedule. You look here for February, we're at 3676, and this is head count at this point. So these are the number of kids in the seats at the schools. And last month we had 3698. If you actually look, and Jenny can kind of scroll up just a little bit for me, thanks. You're going to see, if you look across here, the kindergarten and the middle school pretty much stays pretty stable through the months. That's something to think about as we talk more about facilities and that sort of thing. And so the main diff for this month is in the high school. So Jenny, let's go ahead and go on. Anybody have any questions on that schedule?
No, it just seems like that high school dip has just happened a month later than it normally does. We usually have that drop off in January, and this year we didn't until...
That's very astute.
I don't know what.
Actually. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what that means. It's just, yeah, it's an observation at this point, I guess.
Yeah.
So one thing, though, kind of thinking along those lines of enrollment and trends, if you look at last year in February, and again this year in February, we really only had about 3 kids. Okay, and that's head count. Those were the kids that are actually there in the seats. But if we, Jenny, can kind of scroll up a little bit for me. But our FTEs, based on last year, you're going to see is still up. So I'm not sure exactly why that is. But FTE is actually what's funding us. So and there again, that's where our increased apportion in some of the other state revenues has been increased in that respect. Any questions there? So that does lead me into something I'd like to bring up, though, if I can, just for a few minutes. Something I've talked about in the past, and that's the state's funding enhanced class sizes, and that accounts for some of the increase in apportionment as opposed to last year. So they're funding enhanced class sizes from kindergarten through 3rd grade. And I think I might have mentioned at one point, though, that they were doing that from September through until January. And then in January, they were going to start doing some compliance tests and see if we actually met their standard for the lower class sizes, which is what the enhanced class sizes are. And I am happy to report that we actually do. They did their first test here in January. So basically that means we get to keep the money so far. But they will do that each month now, apparently, is their plan. That test, by the way, because as you looked at the class size report that we've had in the past, not every class actually meets those standards, right, of the enhanced class size. But it is a district-wide average. And so the district-wide average is apparently okay. I have an actual official report if any of you would like to see that at some point here.
I just have, how close are we to not being compliant? 5 kids, 20 kids?
They figured to meet the compliance, we had to be at an average of 20.75 FTE.
Okay.
And they were calculating our actual FTE to be 18.74.
Okay.
So, a couple, maybe, kids under.
Yeah, but that's over the district. So
Yeah, over the whole district, so.
We're all right.
That's good.
It's good.
It's good. I think it's good anyway. But that is something, I bring that up in the context of the enrollment report because there is talk, right, about facilities and that sort of things, and the needs in the grade schools and that sort of thing.
That may be something you want, that may be something you should add to the enrollment report. I mean, how close we are to that magic number.
Yeah, each month as they do their test, I guess, we could put that in. That's a good idea.
That'd be a good idea.
Yeah, because keeping that enhanced funding is going to somewhat determine how many classrooms we say we're going to need. That's what you're getting at.
That's exactly what I'm getting at.
So,
The thing to also keep in mind is that those young bodies are going to emulate students. And even though you do lose at the high school, so at the junior and senior level where there's that dip, or they're leading in senior level, but you're still going to have bodies in the lower levels and in the middle school. So those counts remain steady, and we've been tracking that all year long. The enhanced funding that you get with the average across the district, which is important step because you really want to keep the counts low. We've done a good job of doing
Okay, you go on?
Yep.
Okay, so the board had asked, or some of the, anyway, there was a request for, I'm on the homeless. So there were some inquiries made as to what currently our homeless population is for the district. And I did manage to procure a report, which I will give credit to our special ed department. They're tasked with tracking as much as they can who is homeless across the district. And I use the phrase as much as we can because, I mean, we don't necessarily go out and just ask every kid, are you homeless, right? So that we get different kinds of information from different kinds of sources and that sort of thing. And then we track that for purposes of federal compliance with what's called the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act, which really is designed to try to help each child have an equal chance at an education in the sense of even those that are homeless. And so they ask us to try to fund that, to make that possible in certain kinds of instances and things like transportation and maybe even I've seen it used occasionally for clothing, and food and things that might end up being barriers to them actually coming to school and learning. So there's different kinds of things there. It is an unfunded requirement, by the way, so it is something that we're tasked with doing if we accept federal money, which we do. And so that is something that we try to do. Currently there is 107 students that we consider to fit the matrix of being homeless. And by the way, homeless, they was asked to stress that it doesn't necessarily mean they're all out on the street. Often these are people that are with relatives, friends, borrowing a couch, borrowing a room. Some of them are actually, in cars, but that actual breakdown that way I don't have. I don't know if we actually could know that, but there's no way to get that exactly. Yeah. So they're not necessarily wandering the streets. Any questions on that? And I can try and, as we do that each time that report, I can try and include that enrollment, on the enrollment, just as kind of a note item if you'd like.
You know what else would be interesting, and this would be probably your bailiwick, but maybe Karen Ross. How many of these kiddos are we actually actively transporting? They're living in the Roseville area, but they went to Dry Creek, so we're transporting them. That's a curiosity question, because that's not an inexpensive, for an unfunded mandate, it's not inexpensive, it's the right thing. I mean, give these kids some amount of stability somewhere, but I'd just be curious how often we're transporting these kiddos.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I know that can actually end up being quite a bit for the year, depending on how far out they are.
You know, on the district transportation, on buses going to.
Because by law, we need to transport them to where they went to school.
They do have a right, according to the Act, to stay within the school that they were last enrolled in.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes we can negotiate if suggest that maybe they might want to go to a school closer, but it's also up to that district then to accept them. And if that's not the case, then we have to actually transport them. Unfortunately, there's no reasonability limits to that. I mean, they could live 50 miles away and we would still be somehow required to get them here in some fashion. So Director Meffner is correct, it can be expensive. Okay, any other questions? Okay. On the free and reduced lunch report, I'm giving this to you as an update as requested. I think the last one I gave was, in October, which is why I provided that 21. So the percentage actually is down. Now, what that really means is kind of a guess at this point. I mean, hopefully it means maybe some of these people actually got some jobs, right? And so they no longer qualify. It could mean that some of the people actually moved out who have been on free and reduced, who withdrew and actually went to other places. I did put the October one in there because most of the funding, well, not necessarily most, but quite a bit of the grants that we get from the state that are based on free and reduced lunch percentages use the October count. And usually the 50% mark is often a threshold for that. So just kind of more for information. Just put it that way.
What happens for our free and reduced lunch students who are in Running Start, primarily or exclusively?
That's an interesting thought.
What happens for our free and reduced lunch students who are in Running Start, primarily or exclusively?
So I guess theoretically they could come back and get lunch.
Should we feed them going to?
If they are on campus, yes, they can come into the cafeteria and eat.
That's the definition.
Both
They
breakfast
have
and
to be
lunch if they're on.
at
Yeah.
So if they're not?
If they're not, they could, if they're still enrolled in taking classes, they can request staff lunches. That's not happening, to my knowledge currently.
They're going over to Running Start at another campus. I'm assuming they're not coming in to get sandwiches.
Some do. I've seen some that I know are in Running Start. It just depends on their schedule and what they're coming back for.
Most of our Running Start kids are taking at least one class at the high school. So that's an interesting number. I'm not sure what percent of those, but I think that's it's a goal. But high schoolers traditionally do not claim their free and reduced status.
Yeah.
It's not like all of a sudden, hey, I'm just getting fed more because I went to high school. It's not that. It's not.
That's a cultural problem, I guess. But since they are enrolled, they certainly can qualify. Any other questions there? Is that my last?
I think you're done. You could go sit down now. And Mr. Harker gets to come up. Personnel report.
Good evening.
just wanted to share again with you the good news about us receiving the waiver for the 180 student day from the State Board of Ed, so that was good news for us to get that.
Very good.
All right, a couple things. We hit that time of the year where we start looking forward to the next school year. And so one of the things that we have been doing is contacting our employees who have expired certificates. It's a matter of procedure. And there's a report that we pulled down from the OSPI website. It seems really simple. Except that of the 53 folks that we have with expired certificates, 7 of them weren't listed on that report.
How many do we have for expired?
53, which is not a, it just is what it is. It's, you know, statistically, it should be a fifth, probably a fifth of your personnel.
Okay.
Because of the nature of the certificate renewable every 5 years and so on. But what was interesting was that when I did this report, something wasn't coming out right. I got a request from a teacher saying, hey, I think my certificate's expiring, and they weren't on this list. So we ended up having to do a little bit of research. And it turns out that when you've got newer teachers, sometimes they get their certificate from their university, like the City U or something like that. And those don't always get reported to OSPI. So we had to actually go through by hand every one of our certs that didn't have an expiration date. So we came up with 7 more people that we got to inform that they get to renew their certificates. So just one of the things that we end up doing in HR this time of year. Another thing that came up as far as the employees is that, as you know, the NCLB was changed to the, I believe it's ESSA now. And so part of that, the highly qualified teacher status is going away. But that was passed, if I remember correctly, on December 11th. So anyone who was hired before December 11th is still subject to highly qualified requirements. So I've been working with Chuck, we've been working with Barry. We've got approximately 20 folks that hit that category. The majority of them are elementary folk who all they really need to do is take this 2-test series that's offered, usually it's about twice a week over at Lisk. And so you are able to use Title II funds to help them out. So what we've agreed to is that we will assist our folks to get that taken care of because you still have to do it. So, and the cost of that is approximately $95 a person. So we'll do it, get it done, then unqualified will turn into something else. As far as positions, here's what we got. We've recently hired a teaching position over at Dry Creek, an assistant wrestling coach. Let's see, Skill Center had that, what was that, 2-hour position for secretary, the security at the high school. We currently have open 3 para-ed positions, the lead custodian, the night lead custodian at Branchville High School. 8-year coach for next year. We got 3 assistant coaches, a couple of girls volleyball, one for middle school, one for high school, tennis coach. And then one of the things that I was talking to you folks earlier about is our substitute situation. And we have, since the last time I saw you, we have 7 new substitute teachers, and we have 8 new substitute paras, and then 2 new substitute secretaries. So that's all very helpful to us. That's what I got. Any questions?
Do any of your teachers or substitute teachers, are they willing to also do substitute paras?
Yes, and then that's one of the keys is trying to find those people that won't be trouble. And so we encourage them to do both from inside out. Yep. All right, thank you very much.
And you. Pardon me? Oh, I thought I was Sandy asked a question. Okay, so Dr. Jackson, 12.02, report on organizational chart.
Yes, this was board wanted me to bring this back, and as I hand that down to you, just in case you had any questions about this. There's a couple of things that we're doing here that a little different. We have a new assistant superintendent there, but pretty much staying steady with that chart.
Okay. So the question that I was asked to posit was, our assistant superintendent is responsible for the elementary principals. And as is the case in small towns, we're all like this. Has there been any discussion about putting a couple of the elementary schools into your camp?
Well, here's the thing.
Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah, because his wife works at Dry Creek. He doesn't evaluate.
No, but he evaluates principals who evaluates.
That should make a difference.
Okay, so you don't see that? Okay,
Yeah,
I will pass that along.
Wait, so, hold on, I'm not understanding.
Would there be bias? Would there be bias if Chuck would evaluate?
Evaluates Michael Persberg. Michael evaluates Chuck's wife.
Oh, I see.
That's
circle
that.
Right, and in a small town, you're going to find this a lot.
Yeah, I don't see where that makes any difference.
It doesn't.
At all.
It would mean something if Chuck was evaluating his wife who was supported as a secretary. Then it's.
Yeah, then you would.
I'm just passing on
I know,
concerns.
but that shouldn't be a concern.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about this? All right. So now we go into the action items. Okay. So 13.01, approval of policy 5222, job sharing staff members, a second reading.
Well, we had some concerns, and I know Josh was not here the last time we did the first reading, and I verbalized that job share really is a site superintendent responsibility. Now, it is part of policy, but what you don't want is to have two teachers come to a principal and say, we'd like to job share, and then they go to the principal, I can't favor that, we have too many learning difficulties and da-da-da-da, and then they go to me, and I say, well, I would work with my staff and talk it over with the principal, and if they don't like either one of those deals, then they'll jump over the board, and you don't want to get in the middle of that, because then you're going to have people who circumvent the system, and even though it's a policy, it's not in a collective bargaining agreement, but you keep it as an option, so if you did have job share, at least you can do it, but normally those things are worked out at sites. Normally it's elementary teachers, and sometimes job sharing comes about because there's a shortage of teachers. Let's say you can't find a really good high school chemistry teacher, but you can find two people that would like to share that responsibility. That may be an option, but if they, it should be up to the superintendent and the principals to run a job share.
We need a motion and a second before we can discuss it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're doing your part. So does anybody have a motion to accept this?
I want to move to discuss it,
Well,
so.
all we'd have to do is get a
Okay.
motion and a
I'll move
second.
that we-
Okay, motion,
Second.
second. Now we open for discussion.
Okay. I was reading this to, I reread it again today because I had some questions about it. One of my questions was, in here it says that the superintendent is responsible for recommending to the board when the best interest of the district should be served by creating job sharing assignment for a particular position. And underneath that, it says the board, superintendent, or designee reserves the authority to maybe do whatever. I don't understand, I guess, how do you have to recommend that to the board?
So I took an in-depth look at this, and although I certainly respect that the RCWs require us to have a job sharing policy, I think that this policy as written gets us into trouble because it conflates two different roles in terms of determining job assignments, and creates potentially, obviously, confusion between who the responsibility lies, and suggests that an employee who doesn't like a determination by the superintendent could actually appeal to the board. So while, I mean, policy 5005 gives the board the authority to hire, 5211 gives the superintendent the authority to reassign or transfer. A job share that arises from a new hire, in which the board should approve, but it could arise from a reassignment to existing employees in which the superintendent should approve. So it suggests in one place that this 5222 suggests in one place the superintendent makes the decision and then recommends to the board to approve. That's fine. But another that suggests the employee could appeal directly to the board, which is not fine. So I think that the policy should be clarified to state that new hires to a job share approved by the board, recommended by the superintendent, fine, that's in our consent, that's fine, we do that all the time. But existing staff merging into or splitting out of a job share situation is really the purview of the superintendent. And really at that level, with the at the advice of the principal. I just think that as written, it creates the opportunity for conflict. I mean, it's going to come up rarely, but it's not.
Well, you don't want to clear it. Yeah, you just don't want these.
I don't know. I'm the newest member.
Yeah.
And I just want to feel real clear that it is not my job to assign teachers to jobs. I don't care where they are or what their job is. So that was my concern.
Did I summarize?
Yes, you did. But now what do we do about that concern?
We can take this back to the policy committee and bring it back with a little bit of clarity, or you can approve it with changes tonight.
I don't know, do you feel like you can rewrite it tonight in a way that would deal with everybody's concerns?
I would move that we pass it back to the committee.
So we're going
to changes.
So we're going to table this. But okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Let's vote on this. The motion to pass this. All in favor?
To pass it?
No. Yes, that's the motion.
We have to deal with the motion that's on the table. The motion is to accept, which was made by Sandy. The second was by Josh. Then we discussed it. Now we're going to vote to approve it. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. So, do I have a new motion?
I move that we return this policy with our comments to the policy committee for revision.
Second.
Moved in second. Any other further discussion?
No. Thank you.
Okay, then all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Thank you. I know it seems tedious, but we do have to follow the law.
I like Robert's rules.
Okay. They're fantastic. So we are moving on to approval of policy 1225, student representative to the board of directors. This is a second reading. Is there anything to add on this?
No, I think we're ready to move forward on this.
Okay.
I move that we accept this policy.
This is 1225. Second.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No, hearing no discussion. Then I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, that passes. Moves us on to approval of policy 5010, non-discrimination and affirmative action staff. This is a first reading.
Yes, first reading, this is dealing with really a staff issue, sexual harassment, and we're really following very closely RCWs on the next two policies. So this is a first reading. We spent a lot of time on this one, and appreciate your patience with this, but we have to take this back to the policy committee and have the second discussion there, and then bring it back to the final reading. But we've been moving this at an accelerated pace because this is one of the issues that we had on that we had to review quickly.
Yeah, I move that we accept the first reading of policy 5010.
Any discussion? Susan seconds. Any discussion?
Well, we're talking about the one that I questioned you about, right?
No, that was 510. This is, yeah, this is 5010. Yeah, this is 5010. And this is...
Okay. Well, I just thought the wording of it was a little odd, that's all.
Yeah.
And I told Marc that.
And we, when we looked at this the first time around, we tried to stay with what some of our general concepts were, but the state of Washington says you need to follow the red letter of the law on these next two policies, and we did. You notice that includes gender expression and identity. Those are real legal terms, and legal counsel was saying you really don't have much flexibility.
No, I'm not having trouble with that part. I'm having trouble with the other part about, it was a little detailed, but as I said, I didn't think that the discrimination qualified as harassment. That's the thing, that was the most thing I had trouble with. The other I had some trouble with, but I didn't think that if you're talking about, as I gave an example, but if someone is refused to do something, a particular group, they cannot, have access to something. I didn't consider that harassment, I just considered that discrimination.
Can you point that out where that is?
Yeah, I'm confused now.
I can't even find it right now.
Okay.
She's,
Okay. Is it this one? There's one on sexual harassment, and then this is the... The gentleman who addressed us tonight, the three gentlemen who were concerned with the transgender issues, is this the policy that covers that?
No.
It's the next policy that
No,
covers?
it's neither of these. It's a third policy.
Okay, have we discussed that?
This is an offshoot of that,
Okay.
because the practice is in the procedure. We're really working just primarily with that policy.
All right.
Okay, and I'm not finding in here where it says harassment. The only question I had, honestly, on this whole policy was, why just Vietnam veterans? Just out of curiosity.
oh, there it is, yeah, well, that's right.
They wrote it in there.
That's what,
I'm just curious, why just Vietnam? I mean, what about Korea? I mean,
And what
Well,
about-
that's actually...
What about
well,
Desert Storm?
There's actually...
Good.
There's actually...
I would love to hear.
Actually, because that's...
Since we have a veteran.
Because that's the one that's specifically written into law.
Is the Vietnam one?
Yeah, that's the one that's specifically written into law.
But wouldn't we want to, can we not say as a board any veteran of a foreign war or something? I don't know what the...
Well,
You know, I had a specific question on this about another part of it, about the trained guide dog or service animals. Marc provided me with a very reasoned email back from the attorney. I mean, essentially the message is, this has been, I mean, I don't normally take this as the way, but this is the one that has been vetted and re-vetted, and this is the one that won't get us in trouble with the state.
That's...
And I mean, because I agree, I've got lots and lots of questions about policies, and I don't really like, when people say this is just what you should do, but, in these cases, these are the ones that are really important.
Well, as long as our attorney has
weighed in,
vetted it and said this is
And again,
And
this
this is
is,
the first reading.
this is just a first reading, so if there's something really specific that you need the attorney to, that you let Mark know, he will get it right back to you.
And he did, and it was quick, so.
Okay.
So with that, I'm going to ask for the vote and that you can continue on with your questions to Mark as you
Okay, thank you.
need them. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Excellent. Okay, so that's going to move us down to 1304. This is the pretty much same policy, only for students. Anything we need to specifically, and I think the same arguments.
I move that we accept the first reading of policy 3210.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion here?
Pretty much the same things. We try to stay as close as we possibly can, no matter what. This does deal with harassment occurring in the district, and they want you to have prompt and effective steps reasonably calculated to end it. But you also have to keep count of what goes on. So there is reporting mechanisms in our practice that we still have to keep track of throughout our district, and on, those kinds of things.
This is the one that this is the one that.
Yeah.
Harassment.
It uses the phrase discriminatory harassment
Yes,
in the second paragraph.
yes.
Okay.
And your suggestion is that all harassment is discriminatory?
No, all discrimination is not harassment. That's my problem.
Yeah.
And I don't think it is.
Well, we know you cannot discriminate.
Right, that's not a question.
Yeah.
Nor
I
can
just
you
think the
harass.
weird, it's, okay. Oh, I've lost it, now what to tell. Okay.
So it's a first reading.
It refers to, no. No, I'm just, what happened to it? It's like it's gone.
That's because you're looking wrong.
Who have you designated?
Oh, yeah, she's got it. Okay.
Personnel.
We are on 3210, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, see, we've got the trained guide dog in there. Okay. It was the second paragraph, I believe.
Fourth one.
Here it is.
Okay. When a district employee knows or reasonably should know that such discriminatory harassment is occurring, right? Such, and that's referring back up to severe, persistent, or pervasive limit to deny students' ability to participate or benefit from district's course of offer. Well, I guess in some of these are, if it was persistent, I guess what it's saying is if you persist to refuse to give someone access to something, then that is harassment. But it doesn't seem to me like it's harassment. It just seems like a totally different thing. It seems like such, the word such, referring up to that, I think it's something else. I just don't think it's harassment. That's the way they worded it. So.
Well, it sounds like you can certainly send the question back to the committee because it's only the first reading.
Okay,
Just send it to Mark.
Yeah, you send me the, I'll be glad to look
Yeah.
it up.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, it passes. So now we're going to 6700, nutrition and fitness. This is also a first reading. I'd like to call it the Nut and Fit.
I move we accept the first reading of 6700.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I do. I have a discussion point here. I know, right? So under recess, it seems to suggest that it reads, in addition to required physical education, the district will provide students with physically active daily recess opportunities. Recess will complement, not substitute for physical education class. It seems to suggest that we are supplying this to all students, regardless of grade.
We don't have recess, we don't have recess
I
in high
don't
school.
think that's the intent.
Yeah.
And I suggest
Well, have you tried to go between classes at the high school? It's recess. You're getting in your cardio. I mean,
He's talking about the
It's
word.
essentially CrossFit.
it is like, it is CrossFit with a tardy at the end. So, no, I do know that we have, I mean, we even have recess up into the middle school, so.
Do we really?
Mhm.
It's an extension of both at the high school and the middle school, it's an extended lunch period. Most
Seriously?
kids take about 15 minutes to eat. Then we have open gym, we have games going on, we have outside flag football, different
Seriously,
things.
that's considered recess. It's part of it.
We don't call it recess, we call it lunch, and your
kids
free
still call it
time.
I stand corrected.
I stand
I-
corrected.
High school's the same way. Some kids don't even eat a lunch. They go play the football, they go to the open gym, different places. Others eat in 15, 20 minutes and enjoy, so.
I stand corrected.
They don't have a separate recess other than lunch like the elementaries do.
Okay.
So,
Very good. I withdraw my comment.
This is the first reading, isn't it?
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
I withdraw my comment.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right.
And thank you for the knowledge, Mom.
No
I
problem.
know. It's good. I like it. Everybody needs a little recess.
We love it. Okay, so now we are on sexual harassment of district staff prohibited, policy 5011.
I move that we accept the first reading of 5011. This is first reading.
It is a
Yes,
first
sir.
reading. Do I have a second? Okay.
And this one's been vetted too by the.
Yes, it has. Yeah, and it, really, any sexual harassment has to have immediate investigation. So this is where you do an investigation and you determine the outcome, but you have to show proof that you're doing something about it.
I see under policy review, it asks that you're making an annual report to the board.
Yeah.
Is that in our matrix at all? I don't even recall
I
having.
don't think we've been making reports, and that's part of
So I would love that to
compliance
get,
issue. Yeah.
that needs to get written into our matrix somewhere.
The
This,
matrix.
this, into the matrix, this policy, he needs to make a report to us about what's going on.
Yeah, there is
So-
a report to the board. We'll do that. And I believe this is a first reading.
Yes. Any further discussion?
Looks like the grammar's.
All right. So with that, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, unanimous. Okay, so now we're going to 13.07.
This allows cross-credit English, commercial arts, and skill center. So she's made approval for English cross-credit from Melissa Klein's commercial arts. She needs your approval to do that.
I move that we approve Judy's request.
In a second? It's a second from Susan. Any discussion? I will discuss then. I am not opposed to this. In fact, I think more cross-crediting is precisely what we need. If I'm going to approve a class, I need more than she did all of her paperwork. Because that paperwork, if you'll see the paperwork for a cross-crediting, it is an enormous undertaking that people go to get approved for cross-crediting and get those signatures, and they have to describe what it is. So if I'm going to put my name on it and say, yeah, that's an English class, I kind of want to see the actual paperwork. So I'm not willing to vote for this now. I'm just one vote, but I would like it to come back with the paperwork. I have no doubt it's all in order, but.
May I ask a question? Who is Jody Potter?
She's the Skills Center Director.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to learn everybody.
That's a lot of people to learn.
Okay, I'd surely like to have seen that before I voted on it also.
Okay.
Do you want to know what the paperwork is?
So what would we, how would
With the
you, how would you
corrections.
do that? You would shoot, we would see it? We would all see it? Is that
Well, it
how
comes
Mark would
as
look at it?
a packet like this comes, and it has all the ELers on there and how her class is going to meet nonfiction writing and what assignments that might look like. So it's all of those things.
That's kind of, actually be kind of like a syllabus.
Yeah, Melissa has probably put hours and countless hours into getting this cross-crediting. It's commendable, and I'm thrilled by it, but I still, again, as a director who does approve classes, or what we're going to offer, I'd like to see that.
Well, if it were kind of like a syllabus, then if it's approved, she would probably use her syllabus, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, if she's done all the work, it's just...
You just want to see it?
I want to see it before I say, yeah, that's an English class. So.
That makes sense.
All right, we'll get that for you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the table. We need to vote on it. All in favor of this? All opposed? Abstentions? Okay. So I guess I'm going to rewrite another motion that I would like this to come back as an action item next board meeting with the paperwork.
Second.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, thank you.
Where does this go to be okay?
Okay, so she writes out all of the things, and then she has to take it to the, it would be the English department, and the head of the English department at the high school.
At the high school.
Would
Then go to the state?
It will eventually, after we approve it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're the ones who approve it. I mean,
Yeah.
you bring it that's a very good point.
So, yeah.
For your experience.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Keep us here all night.
No, sorry.
Okay. Did that answer your question, Cindy?
It did, thank
Okay.
you.
So we're on 13.08, we're almost there, kids. Approval of an additional preschool session.
This is, we're anticipating the development of preschool growth. There are the needs of student both behavior and mental are increasing, and large class sizes present a safety risk. So Brianne is asking, requesting staff 20 hours of para time per week for a total of both preschool and infant toddler. So the additional cost will also be your transportation to provide completion of this item. That's the question.
Then we approve the additional preschool session.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Will this be located at Dry Creek? Where's this?
Well, she's saying right now, Dry Creek's teacher works 4 FTE and it's 0.6 FTE total. I would imagine so. And if
I mean,
it's not,
they're
then
not really a facility?
Yeah,
Really?
they have a preschool program.
Joyce, do you?
Yeah, I do. So currently there's 3 early childhood programs running. We've added 10 kids this year. We have at least 6 with the next child fine. And that's with no additional staffing added. We just had a phenomenal care that we saw. I mean, it's unsafe in there right now. We cannot handle the intensity of these kids and the class sizes as they are. So we have the morning and afternoon. Then Dry Creek currently houses the morning, and so she would give up her, and she would have infant toddler run through paras. She would oversee those IEPs. Slightly different name, the early childhood IEPs. Then she would pick up that preschool. And it would run similarly to what Anne's current preschool and our morning preschool is. Our afternoon, we have a higher level of staff. We have an additional para come in the afternoon. Those are generally nonverbal.
So you're seeing increase too, Jefferson?
a huge increase. Yes, yes.
So that your
huge.
kid will siphon over to Dry Creek.
Well, I mean, we're to the point, just to be honest with it, we're to the point where we're almost, sorry, I was in the back eating some dinner.
That's all right.
We were debating if we were gonna have to cut their hours, because they would get more done 2 days a week with intensive work, almost, versus the chaos that has become because of the numbers for 4 days a week. We're talking about kids who cannot function without almost hand-over-hand assistance. And so anyway, and the next piece that will have to come after this, these kids all have PT, OT, and SLP. We can't add 16 kids in a school year and not increase any level of PT, SLP, and OT. So that's just out there, but that was one of the things when we were beginning to brainstorm, do we have to shift to 2 days a week just to maximize the educational impact on these kids? We thought, well, we can't because our SLP can't be here.
Those acronyms.
Speech and language therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. So these little guys generally receive all of it, and our specialists are phenomenal, and most of them don't have to receive it all the way through, but they definitely put in their language. Sorry, that's my 2 cents.
Have you had 16 this year?
We have 16 on our caseload right now, with 18. They're split between morning and afternoon, so we can handle significantly more in our morning program. But we have 8 in there in our afternoon, and we just got a new child. I need to be careful because it's being filmed and going live, so I can't say too much from a confidentiality standpoint. But we have a couple of kids, they're just high needs kids, and if we give them what they need now, they won't be high needs kids forever. But if we don't, they will have a high level of support all the way through.
Okay,
Thank you
that's
so much.
a need.
No, we moved and seconded, now we need to vote. All in favor? Was there any further discussion? I'm sorry, I missed that word. No? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Excellent.
Wow, that's scary.
Mariana's coming in front of us, she can have the months. So we're moving on and almost done. 4.01, 14.01. Items for next agenda.
We have the board CSIP report, classified employee group, Boys and Girls Club update, enrollment report, facilities report, quarterly public records request report, nutrition and fitness report. We want to hear from about Donnie giving us what the process is. So we'll bring that forward. Any other items?
Can you hear what's going on in Olympia? Do we ever get reports about?
You want a legislative report?
Yes.
Yes, I can absolutely, if you'd like to. The other thing is, WASDA has a tab that, so every Friday, every Thursday, all the bill watch lists come out. And also the nice thing on that, is it will tell you if something's going to have a hearing, where and when that hearing is, and then if you decide you would like to, you feel really passionate about, you can go down there, tell them you're coming, and they will get you right into the room, and you can stand up and say your piece.
Well, we can get you some web pages for that.
That'd be good. You just
Question about, have you ever thought of, some places they video conference and they can testify right from here, and I actually talked to the commissioners about that about a year ago, and they said, for example, Peninsula College has the equipment there, and if people can testify here, all types of things, not just school, but that could be something we could work on with them. Since they changed commissioners and everything, I think that's a little different than it was before. I don't know if we could do that, but I did talk to them.
So you're saying testify in Olympia from here?
Yes.
Okay.
Because they do that.
Yeah, because as far as I know, the problem with a lot of these education, it's not insurmountable, is that they change very frequently. In fact, they ask if you're going to head to Olympia. Oh yeah, call first, because they're just...
Well, that's right. That's one reason that when you go down there, and sometimes you get a minute.
Don't ever go down there until you...
Right. I've been down there when I had the minute and I didn't have the minute.
Yeah, that can happen as well.
Yeah,
So
that can be real frustrating.
if you could somehow do that from here, that would really be helpful for people all the way around.
Okay.
We can ask the
Any other items?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we're good. Thank you. Oh, we gotta sign on things. Oh, I'm sorry. I adjourned the meeting.
Happens, now 11 times.
We're not done.